Hello? Hello?
All right, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. And the webcam is good?
All right, so this is me talking at a normal voice. This is mic 1. This is me on mic 2 while I'm wearing my mask. This is me on mic 3, also wearing my mask. This is mic 4 at chest level. This is mic 5 at chest level as well. This is mic 6 at chest level. Finally, this is mic 7. How's that all sound, Umberto?
Microphones 3, 4, 5, and 6 were pretty quiet. They got progressively quieter. 1, 2, and 7 are good.
Let me see why that is. 1 second.
Yeah.
You said microphone 3 was low?
Yeah, it was. It's sounding better now.
I raised the volume on all of it. Do you hear a lot of feedback on your end?
No.
This is mic 4 at chest level. Is that better?
Mic 4 is better, but it's still a little quiet.
Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be like up to the neck. How about now?
It's more or less the same, but it's passable.
It's Ovaya. He speaks pretty loud, so that'll work.
Yeah, he'll be good.
This is mic 5. How does this sound?
Mic 5 is still really quiet.
This is mic 6. How does that sound?
Also really quiet.
This is mic 6. How does that sound?
Still quiet.
I wonder if you know the mask or not. This is mic 4. How's it sound?
It's a lot louder and blown out.
Blown out?
Yeah.
How about mic 5? Is it blown out too?
No, it's still dead quiet.
Really? I raised it up a lot. How about mic 6?
Still quiet. Those are your two lapels, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Fuck. Because they're both charged.
This is mic 3. How's that sound? 3 is fine, right?
Yeah, 3 is fine.
Yeah, I don't know why the lapels are being low. I'm adjusting the I'm making adjustments. Let me try again. How's this for mic 5?
It's still quiet. I feel like it's not picking up from that mic. It might just be the ambient noise that the rest of them are picking up.
That's mic 6. Same.
Mic 6 is still quiet.
I'm gonna reconnect them. That end, This is mic 5. How's it sound?
Still quiet.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
It's still really low.
Oh, now it's good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
No.
How about now?
It's still really quiet.
It's being really weird.
Yeah, I thought this is as dressed up as I'm getting. I'm so tired of again.
How about now?
It's sounding better.
How about now? Because I'm moving it from my mouth to my chest.
It's a little quiet again.
How about now?
Quiet.
How about now?
Still quiet.
Super quiet?
Yeah, it just feels like the rest of the mics are picking up your voice.
These things are picking up super loud. How about now?
There we go.
Does that sound better?
Yeah, it does.
How's it sound?
It's quieter, but it's not. You can still hear it.
You know what I did? I just moved the receiver. So I had them flipped onto the metal. I'm wondering if they're getting interference. This is mic 4.
Oh,
Do you know which one the wireless one is for you?
on the mixer?
How about now, Umberto?
You can hear it, but it's blown out.
It's too low?
No, it's loud, but it's just blown out.
How about now?
It's a little quiet, but you can still hear it, but it sounds fine.
How about there? Does that sound normal?
No, it just sounds quiet.
How about now?
It's still quiet.
How about now?
Getting better.
How about now?
All right, we're getting louder, but it's starting to sound blown out.
How's that?
Just it still sounds quiet.
Now?
It just sounds blown out.
There's a lot of people in the community that hurt.
Uh-huh.
They want to learn. This is the elderly people.
Uh-huh.
This is we are.
You know, I gave up on that.
I mean, we have a dream, on a dream, and I like, you don't do it.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Maybe our future and your future, whatever, but I think that the community needs to be, and it will benefit a lot of people. Because, you know, when I attended one over there, most of the people that I know never moved there.
No.
Yeah.
I've seen some really neat community gardens at different places I've been. I used to garden a lot. But I finally, I have her. I can't say I don't have a green thumb because I can grow anything but vegetables. But every time I try growing vegetables,
I mean, it's fine.
I spend much more than I do when I bought.
It's
But it's not about,
Yeah, I get frustrated when I get those plants going in. Yeah,
you go out there from Cali, but people throw efforts on camping or.
yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just my frustration.
I mean, if you're, that's your,
My hobby is my trees and my beds and everything. I can't put vegetables in the same
I don't know, have you ever seen a plant growing?
That's because I'm not speaking.
Yeah. I have tomatoes come up every year out of the crack in my acres.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, it's just fun. Yeah.
This is a test.
We used to get on my dad. He liked to garden. And
Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
when I was a young
We're
adult,
just testing the
back to
audio
town,
still.
Do I need to have mine on mute or something?
his house, and he would.
Sorry, say that again?
He'd get everything going.
Do I
And then
need to mute mine?
he was a teacher during the year, but then during the summer he would dispatch for Pinella Trucking. And right about when the crop started coming in, he'd start working nights. And then me and Mom had to put up all the food, harvest and put up all the food. Hello, sir.
Oh, okay, how about
These are the council packets. And then this is the workshop. And then this is your.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Well, that's what I said. Do what's the easiest for you. I have to bring the lead.
Hello, this is a test. Hello, this is a test. That's kind enough. Hello. You have to wait a second.
Okay. That's
Hello,
easy.
this is a test.
I don't even have to
No,
ask.
at the echo.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of an echo because everyone's talking.
Okay.
I think we got it now.
All right.
Sandwiches, cookie dipples, snacks, and soft drinks and water.
Sir. Yes, Councilmember Woolley, got a question.
Why does it take on the window of the roof or whatever that thing is? Near the Tahoe?
Oh, because the window regulator broke. I'm waiting for it to come.
First, I thought there was tape left over from hooking balloons or something to it for the graduation parade. And then the more I looked at it, I thought,
Yeah,
maybe not.
it fell on Friday, so I ordered it, but won't get here till Thursday.
That's fun. We had that happen to us one time in Las Vegas, and we had to drive all the way home in the middle of the summer with the window down. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
There's some disinfectant wipes over here too. And I have extra masks. I have, well, no, I have
Let me just a minute to put the screen.
Oh, my.
happened on all the bridges, not just the first one.
This is a year ago, this is a year
What?
document.
Oh, yeah.
Last week we were over 600,000 in the red and general fund, and it went to 422. And then, yes, we're still not at the county. Almost there on the grade.
Did you hear the drive-by graduation party?
I actually saw it, and I heard the fireworks. I thought it sounded like a gun. I knew it was a fireworks.
No, this was another one.
Oh, here?
Yeah, we had two parties the other night. It was a birthday party across the street from me. And then my neighbors on the other side, their daughter graduated from middle school. And they had a drive-by party, long line of cars, and everyone stopped and handed her a balloon as they came by. And honked and honked and honked. Cute.
Misty? Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi.
We see you. You're on the large screen.
Usted habla con los de Gio, se comunica con ellos. Ya. ¿Y qué les opina de esto? ¿Qué le opino yo? Bueno, mire, a cada vez, como dice aquí, que uno exagera de aprobar, pero aprobar esto y lo otro. Yo una de las cosas que tengo es el presupuesto de la ciudad de México, ¿verdad? Y eso lo miró cuando estábamos tratando lo de los préstamos a los negocios, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué? Por el presupuesto. Pues sí, pero tiene uno, pues sí, como dice, como por ejemplo, ¿qué otra ciudad?
Good afternoon, evening, whatever it is. There's water in the ice chest. I was gonna get one of those too.
Veo que cuando se trata de los salarios, aquí se dice que es el segundo
That's dry.
a lo más bajo. Para que las ciudades. Salarios. En staff, trabajadores. Mire, si uno, no, yo no lo sé eso.
How do you drink with a mask?
Pero y aún así, mire, digamos que son conservativos en gastas, y aún así siempre caen costos. No saben cosas. Nosotros ahorita, todos los presupuestos se han balanceado. El progreso está, ¿cómo? Deme un ejemplo de progreso económico. Por ejemplo, y ahí aprendieron a hacer más se ha visto, ha sido por causa de la economía, pero más que nada, la economía en general. De que, como aquí hicieron para un Dollar General también, CBS, así es CBS. Pero cuando decayó la economía, porque decidieron las compañías decidieron en que no aquí direcciones que las corporaciones. Mire, había, no es por parte de eso, algo de tiempo se trató de obtener el terreno que está junto a 5 y contratamos con varios promotores de eso. Y se puede.
What's left of that tree on San Joaquin Street? There's not much left of that tree on San Joaquin Street. Huh?
So, el esfuerzo se ha hecho y ya están corporaciones y también los dueños de
That. Every year I have to have you guys go in there. Because it is awesome.
And we still struggling with connection.
who else is trying to connect?
Fernando, Rob, Fernando, Rob Scott.
Yep, here.
Hi there.
There's Fernando.
Hi. Hi, I'm here too.
Ronald. Is Ronald Brumley on?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Ron.
Hello.
The only one that they don't see is Scott.
There's a phone number. I don't know who's that is.
I know Tony, I believe Tony. She will return if she can get any time she's posting, she had to post before. Do we want to go ahead and get started? We have most of our
There
departments.
isn't, if there won't be any complaints, transparency.
Scott, can you hear us?
Yeah, let me turn the volume back up because
Yeah,
I
we
turned
hear
it
you.
all the way.
We got it. We're good.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you much.
So, Sean,
We ready?
all right, then we'll get started. Cool. Okay, workshop. So we'll be starting with our workshop today. And comments from city manager.
I wanted to keep it a bit short. This budget, it has been a real struggle this year. General fund was actually in the red last week of over 600,000, then it went to 400,000. We're just looking to see where are things at, how are things are going. And it's in my head, I'm going, I need to explain what has happened since 2011, and it'll maybe help all of you understand why there aren't more funds in general fund. At least provide you information to make a determination. But I want to thank John and all the department heads through everything that's gone on over the past few months, that they were focused. They did provide their budgets in a timely manner in May, and I commend all of them. They did a great job. You're going to see some of the budgets where the line items either have stayed the same or decreased. Your water and sewer funds, there's really no difference. And if there is, it's very little. What you will see is I haven't talked to Ronald yet, is in PG&E and power, because hopefully the solar project will be online. But just overall, the general fund, and it does affect the other funds as well. In 2011, well, actually, let's roll back. When the landfill was opened in 2002 and then expanded in 2006, there were about 2.5 years that we were, in host fees, we were receiving $1 million or more. That has taken a big hit. We lost about $700,000 in revenue. It's gone up somewhat. That's a big hit when you're looking at our budget and our general funds, because it goes into a pot of money, not just for salaries, it's for operations. It's overall. We lost $1.3 million in redevelopment. We have never recovered from that. We will, but we haven't to date. That happened in 2012. And our property tax, when Chevron Oil took over for JP Oil, they took the lease back and they actually pumped a lot of money into the oil fields. They actually built a little substation that's on the hill. You can see it on the way out. And they had the oil fields reassessed, and they at least had another $1 million that we were receiving, or we did, in property tax money for a few years. And when they decided to basically sell that, the oil fields to CRC, excuse me, we lost that because the oil fields were reassessed again by CRC. That was about $1 million. So if you look at the the total amount over 9 years, we have lost almost $3 million in general fund revenue. And that is a big hit. And for us to continue operations, we run very, very tight budgets as we have general fund. So anyway, I'm looking at going, where's the money? And it's like, I need to explain this, that we have not recuperated from those losses yet. We need sales tax revenue, we need property tax, we need building in town. But when you talk about building, you have to weigh and balance your water needs, your sewer capacity. So it's not just, let's go ahead and do this. There are definitely going to be expenses along the way. And of course, job creation is a big deal in that hopefully the people that work and live in town, then will put money back into the economy, go to the stores, go to the pharmacy and whatnot, to help pump some funds back into the community through sales tax. So keeping that in mind, and me with my light coming on going, I don't know that I've ever explained this, because it looks like, wow, we have nothing, we're struggling, but I think we're doing a very good job and using the funds in a very good way to meet the needs, to keep the services going. Basically, we have probably the same amount of staff, maybe 2 extra within our classic employees, our employees that have been employed since the 1980s. It was our law enforcement that we added. That's where we increased our employees. So we've been, our employees other than law enforcement have not increased that much. We did add the theater events coordinator. I believe we did add the landscaping, but we were contracting out for landscaping. So that basically was a wash. So there really hasn't been a lot of growth within the city itself as far as employees go. So, and that to me is a great testament on the abilities of the people that we have hired, and for the years that they have stayed with us. So that being said, what we're looking at, as I say every year, it's an operations budget. There isn't a lot of money in general fund, and that is the main fund that basically keeps services going, understanding that water is its own generator, wastewater is its own generator, the same with refuse and recycling. So, and keeping that in mind, the general fund, it's struggling, but we should be okay as long as we all work together. We don't take any large hits. We don't know. It looks like the economy is starting to roll a little bit, and hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll see even, or have better news. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you about a little bit of historic information that has affected us, and that we just keep working and keep our economic development going, keeping Tony busy and keeping Fernando busy as well. So anyway, thank you. I just wanted to share that with you. I have to say I'm very proud of what this council and staff have been able to accomplish with what little that we have. And anyway, anybody have any questions about anything right now? Before you get to the numbers?
Questions?
Okay.
All right. So we move on to number 2, review of department budgets, general fund, Fund 10.
And just for your, and this goes in the budget, it's included in the budget each year, and it is the departments and personnel, so you know who we're talking about, what department they work in, and what the titles are. So that's actually on page 3. Thank you, Dawn, for making sure the pages were numbered. We did that, and it is double-sided. It also includes our officers on the opposite page. On page 5, it is our draft budget summary of all funds that we have. You'll see that our revenues do exceed our expenditures somewhat, understanding that this includes all the funds, but you can't commingle funds. You can't, so we have to keep that in mind. We can't take from here to here to make things work. There are through allocations that We can do auditors support, as long as you support it, that we should be okay, but we couldn't take money from the operation authority and run the building department. That is not allowed. So this is an example. All of the departments are in the black. It was a struggle. There may be some funds, as you see in the financial reports, you'll see where there are amounts in the red. That means that we have made a payment. Usually waiting for a reimbursement from the state or whatever. And those projects and grants, it just depends on how they're expended. Okay, and most of them, almost all of them, are on reimbursement basis. So that's why we provide all the numbers so council have a really good idea of where we are as far as our general fund revenues and our expenditures. And that again is our monthly financial statement. But this is our budget summary. Then we get to the page that I like so much. Out of all the different graphs that are available, I like the pie chart. But we can certainly provide any type of graph that Dawn has available to her. If you'd like to see something done differently, it would be absolutely fine. But it shows you basically where are the funds going and what is their percentage as part of the overall budget. Okay, if we move on, are we okay? The next page, which is page 7, actually has our budget comparison as to what we budgeted last year as to where we are this year, which is good for us to be able to see that visually, to see where we were and what we're anticipating this year. And what we have
To ask,
go ahead.
the budget comparison,
Yes.
are all the negatives supposed to be red?
Did I miss one?
Yeah, CDBG,
Ah, dang,
sorry.
I missed one.
It is
I was
4%.
wondering
I just saw
if
that.
there was just a reason, because some of these I know are just go away because they've all been spent out like the grants.
Right. Like the PetSmart and the
Yeah.
tree grants, and they will eventually, they can be deleted.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is actually a really good resource page for everyone. On page 9, sure I'm going in the right order here. On page 9, it's actually the budget summary specifically for the general fund. And that's where we're going to start as far as our review goes this evening. But again, this is a summary page, and it's a very good resource as we go through the budget. And on page 10, if you'll turn this over, this one, I appreciate the one for the overall budget, but page 10 would be for general fund because that is the concerning fund for several years. And the first place we go is, where is that large number? That large number is the police department. And at 54%, they are well within a good range. When we get up to 60, 65, 70 is, when you have a police department or any type of public safety that basically is so high that it's taking away from the other services, then I would say there would be a concern. But our police department, I think they've done a very good job. Rusty, our chief, has done a great job. Everyone is conscientious. Rusty is very good. If there is a problem with the budget, he'll let us know. If he has, one expenditure that isn't his, he will let us know. So he and his staff actually meet regularly and go over the budget. So we appreciate that about him. But this gives you an idea of the overall general fund, what it looks like and where the funds are. I would like to skip over the revenue. That would be in budget workshop number 2, since we have staff actually available by Zoom and would like to proceed with the review. And I would like to begin with the city clerk, who is Fund 10. General fund is your Fund 10. And the department is 3,000. I'll get back to the councils and city managers and the attorneys, but if we can, I'd appreciate if we could continue on to the city clerk. And
Page 23.
is she not? Is she's not here? Okay,
She was here and then she was gone.
that's it. If you look, yes, on page 23, the city clerk. Angie is not only the city clerk, she's an administrative assistant. She wears a lot of hats. She helps with the building department. She helps in planning if that's ever needed. She certainly helps me in my office, and she's a resource for the city council. The employee expenses, PERS contribution, any of the benefits, all of those numbers come from Dawn. So if you take that away, and if you start at office supplies, which is 601, all the way to 673, that's the operational expense. So the professional services, that's for codification of the ordinance. I'm not certain that 10,000 will actually take care of that, but that's also for the general election. Will be paid out of that. Billing postage, that's understandable with what she does. Conference training, that would be for Angie. She's been to a few trainings, but and she belongs to an association, but she's at City Hall. Legal publications, that's basically non-negotiable. There are things that have to be posted by law, and that's what we depend on her for. There's memberships for city clerks and any of the miscellaneous that's needed. There's $350. So really her operational budget is very low for itself. Is there any questions about the city clerk budget? Was it the next 3,000? If not, if we can continue on to its general fund 10 again, and it would be Administrative Services Director Dawn. If we can review Department 5,000 and 6,000, please.
Page
26, 27.
5,000 is page 27.
I understand saving paper and trees. It's okay. It's a joke, double-sided. Go ahead, Dawn. Sorry.
Okay. The finance department budget is mainly, most of it is dispersed out to the other funds. but of the things that are already not just allocated out already. What comes into this account or this budget unit is the auditing services for general fund, all payroll services. We have professional services, our safety budget, or our safety program that we have monthly, and that includes Christmas and Thanksgiving and different programs that we have. But the main meat of this budget unit is the insurance with RMA. That's our general services liability, our employees assistance program, the workers' comp is 100% billed to this budget unit, business travel, the crime shield program, and the unemployment benefits. And then on a quarterly basis, I go in and allocate a portion of this budget to the water fund, the sewer fund, recycling. So that's their portion of the things that are not allocated on a regular basis.
And they'll be able to see that as we go through the budget?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So, does anybody have any questions?
So do you allocate the cost that you do to the water and the sewer fund? Is the allocations that, for anything that is done for them?
Right, such as our payroll services, we contract with Paylocity. We enter our time on electronic timesheets, and then bi-weekly we pay payroll, and then once a month they charge us a fee for that month's service. And it gets allocated on a quarterly basis rather than splitting it out each payroll.
However, if I really want to know the position, she will, so I can really get a good picture of what's going on, I'll ask Dawn, have you done the transfers? Can we get those done? And she'll take care of them. But it needs to be within that quarter. You can't just do it every month. But that gives at least me a better idea of where we are.
And it actually would be a one-time, basically a one-time setup to be able to do that on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis, well, monthly.
For one-time fee?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Okay. Quarterly is just fine.
Just my time and,
I know.
the hair standing on end.
And the insurance portion, what does that insurance cover? What basically you said that was an insurance, what does it cover?
The general liability is for, basically for any, it encompasses everything that the city does basically, just like your general liability that you have for your business. It's the same thing. We do have, there are several programs that fall under our insurance. We have general liability, we have workers' comp, we have the crime shield, and these are all with RMA, our joint powers agreement. The vehicle and the property are both fall under our maintenance, equipment and maintenance budget unit, and you'll see that when we get to that point.
Any other questions? Okay. So, on. You're going to do 6,000?
Gonna do 6,000. 6,000 is on page 29. And that's most of our general expenses. It includes, our office supplies, printed forms such as our billings, envelopes, computer supplies, building repairs for City Hall, the computer lease and enhancements, billing postage, and the gas and electricity for City Hall, along with our copiers, other miscellaneous, the water bills that are City Hall's portions. And a portion of this does get allocated, it also gets allocated out to the water fund and the sewer fund and recycling. And that is because of my staff. I have the utilities and they do all the billing for water and sewer. So it's, everything is expended in my budget unit and then their portion of it is allocated out.
And just so all of you will know, is that all water must be metered in the city, and the city must pay a water bill as well. No water is free. It must be metered. Just want to let you know, that's why you're going to see water and utilities just about every department, or many of the departments.
Yes, we still have to pay our own water to ourselves. And you'll actually see that on the check register when you get it each month in the packet. It will say internal or City of Avenal, that's the water.
And I don't think your lease has, I know that it's $85,000. What is that? Is it from the water that I can see from the lease to the lease computers?
Most of that is our accounting system. And it's about $4,500 to $5,000 a month.
We have invested since the 1990s in the program, and we've had to go through the upgrades, and we're going to be looking at another one here in the not too distant future.
Very, very shortly.
So it isn't just hardware.
I'm sorry?
It's not just hardware.
No,
The
it
computers
is not
themselves,
just hardware. It's mostly the software.
Applications.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions on this? Okay. Moving on to C. Fernando, Fund 10, 7,000.
Fernando, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
It's your turn.
All right. Well, is there an echo there?
There is.
Bad feedback.
We are on page 31. Page 31.
Okay. Let me try this again. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Melissa, Don. So going over my budget here on page, 31, obviously like every other department, we cut pretty much every line item. The only exception being construction. Over the last few years, we've had quite a bit of activity in the construction department where we've made expenditures out of our budget for projects that we have ongoing. And as you know, the community center is still, that construction is still ongoing. So I wanted to be able to have a little bit there in case we needed to utilize a small amount of general fund money to address any issues that come up. Obviously, most of the project is being paid for with grant funding, and we're waiting to hear back from the state for additional funds to continue that project. So all the other items, I just wanted to point that out for construction, but starting from the top, we've, I think from 601 down is what I was asked to look at, because I think Don automatically fills in the first 5 line items. We have office supplies. We cut that in basically in half based on our expenditures this year. For engineering services, that's typically what is billed to our department for some of Brian's time, for example, the water line project or other planning review items. Let me just mention that the water line project is grant funded. Those expenditures, though, come out of my account until we get reimbursed by the state for those expenditures. But Brian also reviews track maps, parcel maps, CUPs, site plans, all kinds of different things that we send over to him. So I like to have the engineering services line item pretty well funded. As you can see, we've spent about $116,000 this year, and that was related to the community center, but most of that is going to be reimbursed. So computer lease enhancements, that normally just pays for our software between Tony and myself. We use Adobe, which includes Adobe Acrobat and Photoshop and those kinds of items. And then also the big one being GIS, so our geographic information system that we use pretty extensively and is a really good resource for us in helping us complete our planning duties. Professional services, that also was reduced drastically just because we have a lot on our plate right now. That's normally the fund that I'll use, or excuse me, the line item that I'll use to pay for assistance with any planning functions or grant writing assistance. If we need to submit a proposal, for example, that requires traffic engineering, like we did with the active transportation program, we paid out of it, we paid for it through professional services, things like that. So we don't anticipate, we've got 3 or 4 grants that we're going to be implementing over this next fiscal year. So I don't anticipate we're going to be needing a lot of extra professional services, but I still wanted to have a relatively comfortable amount in there, even though it's much less, about $50,000 less than last budget year. Yeah, everything else I think is pretty self-explanatory. Our conference and training, we reduced that. We didn't use most of our budget this year because none of the planning commissioners were able to attend the Planning Commissioners Academy, as is the case every year. We usually try to send 2 commissioners to that academy, as well as 1 staff member. And that's why there's that big discrepancy between what we actually used and what was actually budgeted. But I think, we cut it more than half. And I think we're going to be able to get by if we're only able to send 1 planning commissioner or 2 commissioners and no staff. We'll see how that works out. But, the other items, memberships, we have memberships to CalEd and the American Planning Association, different associations that we use as resources, IEDC as well, which is the International Economic Development Council. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Are there any questions?
Any questions? No? All right. You're good, senor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fernando.
All right, so we move on to item D, which is Rob Williams. Fund 7200.
All right, we have,
Several, yes, several.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Loud and
Rob.
clear.
Scott's on the line too. Yeah, 72, which is our budget for inspections and stuff. We try to keep enough in there to be able to cover our professional services, which is Wildan, which is our contract inspector. Scott tries to take care of what he can, but we got a big construction project going as far as a track. He tends to let Wildan handle it because it's so much stuff out there that he can move on and take care of the crew. So we hire Wildan to handle most of the inspections. So we ended up, you can actually see what we spent last year was only $20,000, but with the up and coming construction on the books right now, we're going to need Wildan a lot more. So that's why we budgeted a little more. Code enforcement, as you see, we pick up on 517 uniforms, office supplies, printing forms, other maintenance supplies, professional service, telephone, billing, conferences, and membership and subscriptions. As you probably know by now, we lost one of our code enforcement officers, so the budget looks like it's a little smaller because we only have one officer now. So that's where we're going to end up going through our budget year with one code enforcement officer, and me and Scott will fill in as we need it.
Rob, hello.
Rob?
Yes.
You're on that 7,300 right now?
Yeah, he jumped.
I was 72.
Well, you were at
72,
72, but then
72, and then I passed on to 73.
Right, he went from building.
Page 35.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are all, I got all my stuff lined up. I'm sorry.
I guess, were there any questions on 7,200?
Yeah, that's just a little.
Any questions?
I-
7,200?
I had one, it's probably an easy
Okay.
one. But the last line on 7,200, building construction and debris, I'm thinking. You doubled that
Yeah.
from last year. And when I see a jump, I just want to know why.
Well, we have to have something in there through the recycling program that offsets the landfill. So we have to, right now, we have to charge the contractors to haul their waste to a recycling place. So we have to have something in there to pay them back as they take their stuff to a recycling plant.
So you're expecting more of that for next year?
Yes, with the construction, with the new houses, Panda Koala's building more houses, and then with the housing track on Kern and Corcoran Street. So we anticipate a little more construction. So we needed a little extra in there to get them started. They pay up front and then they get reimbursed. So I just want to have something in there to get started with the paperwork.
Okay, so we're not paying for them. This is just upfront
No.
money and they're paying it back. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
That's like a revolving account.
gotcha.
Councilman Woolley. Yeah. Councilmember Woolley.
Any other questions?
Other questions?
Back to 73.
Okay. No, Rob, let's move on to 7,200.
Move on to 73.
Yes,
Code
sir.
enforcement. Okay, we start at 517, like I said. Uniforms, office supplies, printed forms, other maintenance supplies. We started out with 2,500, but we're down to 1,000 just to bring it in. We didn't use it, so we just cut it out completely. Telephone, professional services. We like to keep some in there because the professional service on that part is when we do our abatements and tearing down houses. So we have to have some money in there to cover the cost of our asbestos training or asbestos
Removal?
yeah, removal and inspections. So let's see where. So the rest of it is just conference and everything. They have to keep up their license and everything. So we have to have some training in there. We can't let our license lapse. Otherwise they have to start all over. So you have to have so much continuous education to keep your training up. So that's what we try to keep in there for them to keep their search going. And that kind of concludes 7,200. Is there any questions about that?
Questions? 7,300?
If I may, Rob, please. Rob, can I just make
Can
a,
you hear me?
yes, Rob, can you hear me? It's Mel.
Yes.
Okay, may I make just a statement before you begin, please?
Yes.
Just, I know Rob went over it. We do have a code enforcement officer that retired, and because of the budget, we are not looking at filling that position this next year, at least not now. So I just want to make that clear, Rob. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. We got 8,100 parks and landscape. Starts again at 517 uniforms. We left
Just a
with
second.
our chemical budget.
Wait, hold on, Rob. You jumped us.
We are on page 41. Page 41.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. See, I don't have a
Department,
book.
so-
I don't have a book. I just have my budget lines. Sorry about that.
Send it to you.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now. So,
Go ahead, Rob. We're in 8,100.
okay, 8,100. All right, 8,100. Let me bring it up here. So I'm looking apples to apples. What you guys see? Let's see. All right, starts at 517 with the uniforms. These are our landscapers and park maintainers. We budgeted 3,000 last year, so we dropped it down to 1,500. We have each department pays for their own uniform, so we didn't use as much this year, so we cut it back to 1,500. Chemicals, I try to keep it high because we take care of maintain all the parks, PD, all the stuff behind PD, the right of ways, everything out of this chemical budget, which is we budgeted 16 for last year, but I dropped it down 2,000, so we're looking at 14,000 this year. But we went through and changed our chemical company. We're getting a better product, and it's lasting longer, and we're building a tolerance up to what we were spraying before, and it wasn't working right, so we're spending more money in chemicals. So now that we switch product, it seems to be working a lot better, and I think we're going to get a better coverage and cheaper price. So let's see here. $629 landscape material. We're always buying fertilizer and stuff like that for the parks. We have the sports complex, what we call the 7th Street Pocket Park, the Kern and 5th Street parking, or the neighborhood park, Avenal Rice Park, and then all the landscape up and down 269 that we maintain. So this helps out with us as far as our fertilizers and chemicals that we need to maintain it. Tools, we're getting to the point right now where the air quality board is going to be looking at us as far as our mowers and everything. We don't have the tier 4 motors that they want to see all the time, so we're getting to that spot where they're going to be pressing us to buy new equipment. But right now, with our hand tools and everything, they're not pressing us too much on those right now. So pretty much we buy a few weed eaters a year to kind of rotate them in and out as they wear out. You know, they only last a couple years, so we rotate them in and out. Other maintenance supplies, such as sprinklers, time clocks, and stuff like that. We have money for that. Conferences and training, professional services, the gas and electric for the park and all the different sites. Other maintenance supplies, we cut that down to $3,500, and that's all part of maintaining everything. So, is there any questions on that department?
Questions?
Yeah, I just wanted
Which
to.
one, Rob? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Councilman Ramirez. So I just wanted to ask you on professional services. What kind of professional services are those funds used for?
That would be like if we wanted to send somebody to training. Oh, professional service. That's if we have to sign something. I'm sorry. That's if we got to call in our engineer to look at something that we need to have designed. That's part of the professional service we take it out of.
Or possibly bringing someone in for training.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mentioned training, but we have a line item for that. But yeah, we can use that for training too. It's been a little while. We usually bring some arborists in to show us how to prune trees or what type of landscape would be good in the area. So that's usually what we use it for.
Any other questions? All right, then we're moving on to Fund 9,000.
9,000 animal control.
It's 43. Go ahead, Rob. We're there.
Oh, all right. Let me bring it up here. So, okay, this one starts at 517 too, as far as the uniforms, office supplies, forms, cleaning supplies, chemicals, equipment parts, professional service, telephone, animal clinic. We have the revolving vaccinations and spay and neuter program, conferences and training. They were scheduled to do some conference and some training this year, but with the COVID-19, it was canceled. So we're able to put that money back into our into the fund and save it for next year or whenever they decide they want to do the covert drop where we can get our training done. But at this point in time, we're not able to get our medicine, so our guys have to stay trained so we can have people come in to look at our facility and what our training is to be able to get our euthanizing medicine anymore. Not a whole lot of companies that are willing to supply or back you on giving shots to animals anymore. The state's kind of phasing that stuff out, so we're looking for alternative treatments to be able to euthanize animals. So, so that's part of the money that we use for conferences and everything. Gas and electric, it's been going up out there. That place is running 24/7. They're doing a good job out there. I like what they do, and they stay on top of everything. You go out there any given time, that place is immaculate. Is there any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Just kind of wanted to know what originated the need for the overtime. I noticed that it's 15,000. Year to date is over budget by about $3,100, and then the full-time employees regular time it's still 6,000 under. Just kind of want to see where the need for overtime originates.
Hey, we have the guys the guys that go in and after hours or on the weekend to clean the kennel. That's where the overtime budget's coming from. the full-time overtime. We have our standard guys, the 2 guys that work the kennel during the working hours, 8 to 5 or 7 to 4. And then after hours on the weekends and holidays, we have the person on call go in and clean the kennels. So that's where the overtime's coming from.
Is that part of the standby, or is that an additional overtime?
What was it? Can you repeat?
Yes, that's the person who is on standby, correct?
Yes, that's the person that's on call. It's not, they actually clean the kennel and they go out and unlock everything, the parks and everything like that. So it's not just for just being on call. It's they do a lot of other stuff. So that's
Rob, I think I hate to interrupt you, Rob. I think what they're asking, what happens is when somebody's on call, they take that on-call time and they go unlock parks and they go check everything out. But when they have to go feed dogs and clean the kennel, that is actual overtime for them. It's not counted as their on-call time.
Yes.
I think it's,
Sorry, I kind of misunderstand what you're talking about there. Sorry.
No, we got it. It's fine, Rob. I think that's more of a clarification. When they go to feed dogs and clean the kennels, that's overtime for the on-call person.
All right. Okay, we're good with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we move on to Fund 18,000.
Page 51.
May I make a statement, please?
Sure.
Just to share some information. When the shelter was built, it was with the goal to rescue as much as possible within the means that we have. And I'm very proud to say that between Avenal and Corcoran, there is at least a 65% rescue rate. So I want to commend our animal control and management staff. They've done a terrific job, and they have dealt with rescue agencies and have really, really made a good name for ourselves. So Rob, thank you and your staff, and thank you, council, for your trust. But they do, we'll have to get you out there, Alex. I don't know if you've been there before, but it is a beautiful facility, and we stayed for that for years to build that. So anyway, thanks, Rob and council.
Welcome.
Another item to note on the overtime too, when they are out cleaning the kennels, it's hour for hour. Whereas if they are called out for, while they're on call, they are paid a minimum of 3 hours for each time that they are called out.
Is that a city policy or is that
It's a policy.
by the city? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's part of the MOU with the bargaining units.
All right. So, any other questions? Okay. So move on to Fund 18,000.
It's on page 52.
Everybody on 52? Rob, are you there? Rob, yes.
Did he mute himself and not forget?
Rob, Scott?
I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
I
go
lost
on.
you for a second. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. We're at equipment and maintenance department, 18,000, Rob.
Yes, we're going to start at 607 fuel, which is allocated out for all the departments. We just kind of set a budget and they transfer everything out of this into other departments. Same with parts, 625. Same with 626, 631. Other maintenance supplies is, you know, the oils and everything we use, filters and training equipment and everything. Professional service, 655. That would be, I guess, if we had to take anything in to get looked at. We've been down that road before with our sweeper. Telephone, conference training. Nacho was getting his training and everything for all the different air conditioning and troubleshooting and all that type of stuff for the newer cars that were coming in through the police force. So we had to cut him back a little bit. So we're probably going to try to get him in some closer classes, maybe let him see what specialized training he wants to go into. We have gas and electric for other miscellaneous water contract, and that's pretty much most of our budget is the 600 numbers. So is there any other questions?
Yeah, the 708 number.
Yeah, that's for the insurance and everything on all the vehicles and everything. That's allocated out too.
It jumped that much?
$95,000, that's
Yeah.
my question to
Yeah.
Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did it increase by 150%? That's the increase between the year to date to the per
That
budget.
seems unreal.
150% increase. That seems like we need another carrier.
Did that get doubled by chance, Dawn, in the line item?
I did check, but I will check again.
Okay. Yeah, it does seem, and I circled it too. You brought it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, sorry, Rob.
Oh, that's all right. Had to take a double take on that myself.
Any other questions?
Part of
on
it has to do with the replacement value for the property. I know that's part of it, but I will double check on that.
Okay, thank you.
The replacement value of some of our buildings, you would think that each year that cost would go up, and where it's showing on our insurance information is they are actually depreciating our buildings for the replacement cost. So there was a question about that, and we looked and asked the appraiser to reevaluate.
Yes, we did. Anyway, we'll look into that and check. And this department becomes a zero department because it's only allocated out.
Yep. Is there any other questions?
No other questions, Rob.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Department E, Chief, 12,500.
Can everybody hear me?
Is that a public safety? Where we going?
Yes,
Yes.
that's next.
It's on page,
Back, isn't it?
yes. I can't see, is it 40, page 49, it's 12,500. We did have to backtrack a little.
49.
Yes.
Yeah. Page 49. 49.
He's got one blipple on the next page.
Okay, so we're good. All right, you're on, Chief.
Hello, good evening, everybody. have our budget before us here. Let's see, I'll start at 517, which is my uniform maintenance account. All the other costs associated with the budget above that are all payroll numbers. And so can't really control that other than the overtime number. Uniform maintenance, same. Office supplies in 601, we increased by $1,500 just due to the potential buying of more cleaning supplies for our office due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're anticipating that, and the cost of those cleaning supplies probably will increase just the way things are. And so we just increased it by $1,500. Our 601.5 went up $3,000, and that was because there's an increase in our evidence.com, which is our body camera storage. So that kind of, it goes up a little bit every year, and then as we have data, so we can set parameters based on what kind of call the officers go on, which dictates to the system how much or how long we store the data. And so we've had some data on there for quite some time due to the cases pending in court for a few years. And so we increased that by $3,000 for that. Let's see. I'm sorry, I talked about cleaning supplies already. The office supplies, Maria wanted to raise it. Sorry, I had those two confused. More paper. We're not allowed to electronically file reports anymore with the Kings County District Attorney's Office due to a little disagreement between the court system and the DA's office. So we're back to paper reports for that for the time being. And so it's kind of odd we're going backwards in all this technology, but in essence, their two computer programs do not communicate very well or at all. And there's been some problems along the way. So we will be doing hand carrying over reports again. Decreased our fuel budget quite a bit. Hopefully the fuel costs stay down, and we're able to do that. So there's a $10,000 negative right there. Everything else from 625 down to 626 remained the same. And 626.1, the vehicle maintenance account, we reduced that by 2,500 just due to obviously we have a newer fleet, but some of the cars are older than the other cars, even though they're all fairly new. But you just never know what you're going to come up with that. The next decrease would be 655, our professional services account. We lowered that by 1,100 just based on where we're at now compared to what we budgeted for. And for that, we have an exterminator, we have alarm costs, we have background investigations on new employees, we have medical physicals for new employees, and then we have something that we have to adhere to. We have psychological examinations for new employees, and sometimes when we have critical incidents such as officer-involved shootings or some other horrific crime the officers have to witness, we do send them for a quick little debrief to make sure their mental health is up to speed. So we take that out of that account. We have a slight increase in 655.1. That's our Kings County IT services. That's who we contract with for our computer technology. That's just a number that a number kind of fluctuates a little bit every year, but this year, $4,700 increase. We still have the same number of devices on the system, but the county must have got a raise in the last year or two. They allocate those costs out to us as well. So everything else is a zero all the way down to 655.9. So that's a Homeland Security grant. And so what that pays for is we have to, kind of what Rob talked about earlier, we have to pay for the product that we buy. and then they pay us back later. So we are allocated $26,000 for this fiscal year, and we do have some projects on the table. We have to wait for some approval from FEMA, but they've been a little busy on the pandemic, so we're still waiting on a holding pattern for that. Going on down to conferences and training, our 661 account for the new council members out there. The state requires our officers to have 24 hours of advanced officer training every other year, and this is the year we're going to get hit with it. So we are, we still have to do that, even though it's at $30,000. We lowered it $5,000. We probably won't be sending our people away as much because of the COVID-19, and that's why we're only at about 20,000 expended it now versus 35,000. There are some local trainings, but sometimes when we have specialty assignments, transfers within a department, we have to send those people out of the area. So, but we did lower it by 5,000 there. Our memberships lowered that, which is 672. We lowered that by 1,000. We just weren't using it. Lowered our miscellaneous by 500. Our general services liability that everybody keeps referring to, it went up $3,100 or so. And then the big one for us is our construction account, which was some carryover money that we've had trying to update the east wing, the main wing, the original wing of the police department to make it somewhat livable like the north wing did with the state money we got. But in the spirit of budget cooperation, we gave that up this year. Hopefully we can get it back some other time down the road when things are more fruitful, but always happy to help out. That's
it got muted, Chief.
I'm sorry?
Chief.
We cannot hear you. It got muted.
No,
There
it
you
must
go.
be the signal. I'm good on my end. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now we can.
Where do I need to start again?
Last thing you were talking about was construction on the east wing.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's a touchy subject. So I got to do it again, huh? Okay. We gave up our $62,000. That's always been in our account, trying to hopefully improve the east wing, make it somewhat livable like the north wing. But obviously, challenging budget year ahead, so we gave ours up, and hopefully, the funds will be available for us at a later date. So we're always happy to help, do our part, and that's about all we have for us.
Rusty, would
ma'am.
you mind, just for council, just to remind how many employees you have that are covered by this payroll?
So I have 19.
Count support staff, the 2 support staff?
Yes.
Okay.
20 if you want to count Mr. Tuttle as a reserve officer, so 20 total, but it's very, very, very part-time. So 19 full-time officers, full-time employees.
So what is in law enforcement, since it's all combined in one budget, it's a little, when you see that number, you think, oh, okay, well, that's where we need to go. But if you were to make each officer its own department, it would make more sense. But that's not how it's done. So we need to keep in mind that you have 19 employees and they are part of this budget from 501 to 512. Thanks, Rusty. That's all I had. Someone else may have questions.
Any questions for the chief?
Yes, I'm not sure if this would be a question for the chief or for Melissa. When the police department first came around, what was the assessment made to allocate certain funds to the police department? And over the weekend, I had some spare time to make an analysis of my own, looking at several budgets from other cities, how much they spend on the police department, in allocating it on a per capita basis. And I realized that we're much higher than nearby cities like Kalinga, Huron, and Lemoore. If you allocate them by population, we're spending about 57% more than them. I just kind of want to know how was the allocation made to the police department? Because we have let's say 10,000 people, and we're spending $3.2 million. I'm looking at figures from the previous budget. Kalinga has 16,000 people. They spend less than us. Huron has 7,200, and they spend, of course, significantly less. And then on Lemoore, they have 26,000 people, and they spend $5.7 million. So I just kind of want to know how the allocation came about and why. It seems to me an overspending on my end, but I might have a different perspective. I kind of just want to know how was it allocated at first.
Rusty, do you want to begin that conversation, or do you want me to reply?
Yeah, we can talk about it from here. So we started out with 16 full-time officers, and we gained one officer through a federal grant that we applied for, which has significantly limited the gang violence in town. We haven't had a gang homicide in 4 years. I'm not sure the other cities can say that as well. With that, we had to keep that extra body for an extra year as part of the agreement. Some of the council might remember that. I guess what you need to look at maybe is, the number, if you look at the budget number alone versus the number of officers they have, and then maybe look at the crime rate associated with that, and then obviously their pay is something that can't be overlooked, but that's kind of where I would leave it that. If you have any follow-up questions about that.
Questions I do have many, but I was just trying to get an understanding how do I allocate $3.2 million and spend $48,000 more than Kalinga when they have a population that supersedes us by about 6,500 people. If you look at it on a number basis, it seems to me a little bit steep. Just kind of want to know the understanding if the crime rates they support that kind of amount. I know Kalinga has a very high crime rate and they spend less than us, so just kind of want to get a general understanding on that.
I know at one point, maybe a year or two ago, their staffing levels were so low that they had to lay people off, probably due to a budget crunch. And so if you just go by the budget alone, you have to look at the number of officers they have, versus maybe they're, if it might look like we're overstaffed, but they could be severely understaffed as well. I'm not sure where they're at right now and all that. It's more of an in-depth analysis rather than just looking at budget numbers versus employees. I guess that would be my best way to answer that at this point.
And Melissa, would we be able to conduct some kind of analysis, as a CDC, where we are on spending, on Kings County?
We can. I can tell you just with knowledge that our officers are the second lowest in payment. But just a little bit of background, and I will do whatever I can within my power to provide the information to council. But when Avenal Police Department, we were paying about $1.8 million, and it was going up to have an officer here, maybe two, and this was an agreement with Kings County, and we had them for years and years. There were several studies actually done, undertaken by the city, when we incorporated to see, did we have the funds to fund our own police department? Because they wanted to have, a police department that would be here and be fully staffed. Okay. But the decision was made when council felt it was time to go forward. There was a study that was done, I believe it was completed in 2008, that according to our budget numbers and what the wants and needs were of the community, and it wasn't just the city that was asked, there were community members asked as to, should we go forward or whatever, that we would hire and keep a very high standard with officers. And I don't know if all, those that remember, our crime rate was high, it was not good. And the council felt, I believe at the time, that if we had our own department and had our own police chiefs, that they would take steps to reduce that crime rate, which they have. So there's a balance there too. And I personally cannot compare ours to others. We don't know what their needs are. We know what our needs are. This was a commitment that was made to fund and have our own police department. And it's not just the officers, we're talking the facility itself too, which we didn't have that overhead before. The substation was located down at the Justice Court, the courthouse. So there are more things to take into consideration, and it is, when you see the number, it takes you back, and I get that and I understand it. But there was a decision made to have the best officers that we could find, within reason, and the training. And we have such a good program here. Other people want our officers because they're so well trained, and there are other chiefs that have told the chief that. I've had 2 that have told me that as well. But there's, it's depending on what the city desires. We've had really good leaders, which makes a big difference in your police department. But I think the final result, or where are we, is our crime rate. And can you put a money value on lives? But I'll be happy to. I can certainly do a review. I would look at communities that are our size, nothing like Lemoore, Hamper, they're large, but we can certainly look at others and see how they're staffed and what their budget is. We can do that. That's no problem.
Yeah, of course, don't take this the wrong way. I really am thankful for the way that the community is. It's a safe community, and it's a very nice community. I just want to make sure that, we're not overspending. Perhaps, if the study was conducted on 2008, we're in 2020. We can conduct another study and, evaluate the needs of the community. We're here for the community. So, I don't want this to be seen as something bad. I just want to make sure that the finances of the city, they're good, and of course, if we're overspending, that's the first thing that needs to be reduced.
Right, it's because it's a large number. And again, correct, if you were to take your officers and make them their own departments, it would look a little bit differently. And when I brought the attention to council about the pie chart at 53% or 54%, just based on the knowledge that I have over the 10 years in other cities where I've seen their budgets and discussed as their city managers, 54% is actually, it's a good number. Could it be lower? Right, but what do you weigh and balance? What is important? And we knew going in years ago that having our own department was going to cost more. We knew that. So it's a decision, an ongoing decision. Understand too, and Rusty doesn't bring it up, and the assistant chief doesn't bring it up, and the officers don't. Let me tell you that we may have 16 officers or 15 officers. You may have 4 officers off at the same time. And you have the other officers that actually make up, coverage, people that are off ill. So there are different things to look at other than that number, because I look at, that's probably one of the first budgets I look at when I look at budgets. So kind of sets the tone for the year. But is it a priority? And again, it's up to council to decide what they would like. But there are several things that council needs to take into consideration when you look at those. And that we do have our own department. There are expenses associated with that. And probably, again, I think the most significant piece is that our crime rate is very low. And how do you put a price tag on that? But I will certainly do that if that is the wish of council. To check other cities and staffing and budget.
Unless the other council want that information, otherwise it's just.
So I would like to make a comment. Let me see here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Actually, about 2008, 2009, I was actually one of the community members that came into council, asking the city council at that time to consider creating our own police department. I did see the need because of Kings County deputies were transferred so many times back and forth, and they really at that time didn't get to know the community at its best. And I had a community member at that time, so the need for Avenal to have their own police department. But also, as time goes by, we can see the difference between deputy sheriff and our own police department. But it's never too late to evaluate, performance and how we're doing compared to other cities, see if we can save a little bit here, a little bit there, but also keeping in mind the community needs and also the input from the community, how they feel, money well spent. Yes, it is. Someone may have a different opinion, but we're here to listen to everyone and I believe move in that direction where we have a safe community. Okay, thank you.
I also agree with Councilman Preciado and Councilman Romero. I think we need to proceed with that, what Councilman Ramirez stated about looking into that. You will see where we stand with other cities. That's it.
And I just would like to add another thing. Of course, that the purpose of this is not to hurt the community at all. That's, the safety of our community should be a priority, but at the same time, just, I broke it down on a per capita basis and just want to make sure that we're not overspending. Perhaps, if we were, which I'm not saying we are exactly, but those funds could be used for community development, economic development, things like that will benefit the community. That is, if there's an overspending. If we come out, everything is fine according to the needs of the community. By any means, we will leave that in touch.
So you have direction as far as that? Okay. All right. Any other questions for the chief? Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. So we move on to item F, Melissa, Fund 10, 1000. Which is page 16.
We can actually, before we roll back a little,
Sure.
we have Fund 10,000, which is public safety, I'd like to do, and then street lights, which is 11,000. But public safety is on page 45, I believe.
45,
and,
yeah.
It's public safety, Fund 10,000.
Okay.
Everybody, is on page. Pablo, you have page? Okay.
Page 45.
Pretty good. Okay. So the purpose of this is actually for our fire services. We contract with Kings County to have 2 firemen, fire personnel on board in Avenal 24/7. So we are covered 24 hours a day. Years ago, roll back, the city, there was a fire assessment fee that you'll see on your taxes. And it goes into a fire fund, and that's how Kings County was paying for all of their fire departments. It came to where those assessments were not covering that, and the county fire asked that would basically we meet with them at the table to come up with a solution. If not, they were looking at decreasing the size of each station. We were so remote that it, at the time, basically was not an item that we entertained because we need to have, our closest probably response would be in Kettleman City. There's a shift that happens when there's a call, let's just say that. But we wanted to ensure that our community was going to be covered. So if for some reason Avenal leaves, Kettleman City comes in, and there's a whole domino effect. Anyway, we have had an agreement with Kings County for, I would say, a good 12 years, and each year it increases. But their cost too, their expenditures increase as well. It costs well over $1 million to run the station here. Actually, it's more than $1 million now. So we're paying a proportional cost. I did increase the
amount that is paid. It was $365 that was agreed upon by a 2-year agreement. We increased it to $380. And for those of you that have been here over the past few years, you know that Kings County has had some concerns about the amount that Avenal is paying for a station in Avenal and the amount that Corcoran is paying for fire services in Corcoran. So it's a negotiated amount, but it definitely is a needed service. I don't believe they have any longer do they have any one-man stations. There's not much one fire person can do because they have to have backup. And, you know, there are rules and regulations that cover fire services and their personnel. So mainly that's what this amount is for. It's for fire services that we pay to Kings County so that we will have 2 fire personnel on 24/7. And they actually have been a really great people to work with, and we're very proud. And if for those of you who don't know, that's where kids want to go. They want to go to the fire station, and people actually show up there because they feel it's safe. So it's important. We've had the fire, well, not necessarily that fire station, it's a newer one. There was one in that same area for as long as I can remember. So anyway, that is for the fire contract. There's a public safety allocation. It's allocated out to other departments. But anyway, that's what this is for specifically. Any questions? We have 3 line items. Okay. Okay, so the next would be Emergency Services Department, and that is on page 47. And then we'll roll back to the other. In 1995, I believe, it was 95, that is when our water line broke. It was our 18-inch line. We had two water plants. One had been dismantled. It was no longer operable. And then we had the 18-inch line, which is plant 2. Our main transmission line broke. It's when we had a lot of rain. It was up in the old county road up in the oil fields. It had washed away, so the integrity of the line was in question. Anyway, it ended up splitting. We were down to 3 feet of water in our storage. We learned very quickly that we needed to have funds set aside in order to be able to respond to emergencies. But that's just my background. I want you to know that this really has a purpose. And the reason that we keep it is that if we need, to telephone service, or if we need any other supplies, knowing that if we've declared a local emergency, there's a good chance that we will be reimbursed, at least a portion of it. But we do need to have funds on hand in the event that there is an emergency. So, I mean, believe me, it's been, well, look, there's money in emergency services. It's like, no, it's emergency services. We don't touch that one. But that is the purpose of this fund, and we'd like to keep it intact.
And do these funds transfer to the next year, or they just
They don't really transfer over. We just rebudget them.
Okay.
Yeah, that money would go into reserves, and then we would budget for the new year.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions about that one?
Conference and training. I can understand having telephone, I can understand having money set aside for emergency, but conference and training.
We are required to.
Is that like the NIMS
We're
training?
disaster workers.
Yeah.
And there is a process that's followed. It's SIMS.
SIMS and NIMS.
Right. Because California did so well with SIMS, now basically national does the same thing. And there are different conferences you can go to.
Okay, I was kind of wondering.
I'm sorry, and I should have, taken it for granted. Okay. My training was at March Air Force Base, where it was pretty intense, and this wasn't too long after the emergency that we had. I ran the Emergency Operations Center, and I didn't know what to do, but you know what? We had a bank of telephones, and
we learned how to do this very quickly. So my training was on the job. We made national news. So I had my 3 minutes of national coverage on a day when there was no water in town. So just, anyway, I find it very hilarious now, but it was pretty intense at the time. But that's what it's for. And most of our staff have received training. And I don't know if Rusty's on the phone, he's our emergency services director, and he would oversee all of the operations. But we all should be familiar with how it works. Does that help?
Yeah, I just wondered if that was for
what it was for.
That training.
Did you want to go back up to?
$1,000 is actually council's budget.
We're going to clear back there.
Yep, we're going all the way back. And now I'm actually.
Page 16.
Sorry, I'm in revenues. City council, that will be on page
16.
Keep saying it. Say it louder.
16.
If I hold it far enough away, I can see it's the 16. Yeah. This is actually city council's budget, and it is where the budget in which council is paid from, the stipend that council receives. The longevity incentive was a policy that was set in place 3, maybe 4 years ago. The longevity actually comes out of council's budget. And it would just depend on who is eligible for that longevity pay as to how that number is calculated. Dawn would know that. The conference and training, that's council attending League of California City training conferences. I don't believe anyone attended conferences last year, but that's what those funds are for.
I won't be going to any this year.
Memberships will be the League of California Cities. It will be LAFCO, which is Local Agency Formation Committee out of Hanford. That would be actually the largest percentage of this.
For which one?
It's LAFCO.
No, which line item?
Memberships. Oh, I'm sorry, League of California Cities.
Oh,
membership. It would be
membership.
memberships, or 672. And also ACAPS, Cities Allied with Prisons. It's actually that's for our membership. That's all cities in California can become a member of the Cities Allied with Prisons Committee. Other miscellaneous, that is where actually council would fund any funding requests from. To date, I am not aware that we have received any type of funding requests. I see that there was something on here. The historical. I'm assuming that was kind of
page markers. Page markers.
Okay.
We have not received anything to date.
Right, and I haven't heard of any. The one that, and I spoke to Dawn today about it, the one that council has supported religiously every year is for the Commission on Aging. And it's, I think, a total of $3,500. We have not received anything from Bobby from Commission on Aging, but that is what helps fund the nutrition program and provide services for our senior citizens. So anyway, I actually budgeted $10,000. We received nothing from any of the clubs, organizations this year, nothing from the Historical Society. So I just wanted to me first, if anybody. And to my knowledge, no one has called or asked. Dawn said no one.
What about RAP?
I'm sorry?
RAP.
I have
Not heard from
RAP,
PK.
have not heard from them.
Wow.
Since the facilities that they use have not been open, so I'm not quite certain exactly the status of RAP.
Okay.
And that's actually another line item. Let's see. The City Appreciation Dinner, that has been, I think, this is only the second time since 1997, I believe, that we have not had a City Appreciation Dinner, and that is to appreciate people in our community that have actually done, and we have so many that do so many things, but we try to honor a few of our citizens. And other groups, it provides them a time to honor people within their organizations as well. It's actually a very, very nice gathering. The recycling grant, that's the $5,000 that we receive every year from recycling. And if we don't use it, it goes back to the state, but we do have to have an expenditure item to be able to expend the funds. And you'll see in revenue, it'll make more sense once you see general fund revenue as to how that works. Citizens CRT, Citizens Response Team, we allocate money every year for the good citizens that decide that they want to serve their community. It provides them for equipment, shirts, jackets, or whatnot. I don't believe we've had any requests this year. Contract funding, 675.5 contract funding, that is where RAP would be paid.
Well, that one was,
yes, that
I knew they were another line item, but.
But to date, there has been no funding according to this report that they have, even though TK did, he provided one presentation one time this year that I remember. Yeah. But no, we haven't heard from him either. And then I know we discussed this a few times, the refuse contract offset, the $132,000, that's actually part of the landfill host fees. It was basically something that was done by the council, a decision made many, many years ago, around 2008, 2009, that from those host fees, a portion of them, that the community members should actually receive some kind of benefit, as I recall how that all came about. So when Mid-Valley Disposal requested an across-the-board 20%, that's when council said, let's take and use some of those host fees and let's help offset that. Well, at the time, it was $132,000. Now it's up to about $174,000, and that's probably a conversation we need to have. I guess the good thing is that the community didn't have to pay additional. The bad thing is that we haven't really said anything, so our community doesn't know that, they are receiving a benefit. You're right, right. So anyway, that's shown in council's budget. Council's budget is not allocated out, so it's solely funded by general fund money.
Mel, can we go back for the contract funding? RAP actually has been paid for one quarter, but because the last quarter of last year's was part of the period 13, when we have to accrue expenses that were due from last year into this year and all of that, it just looks like nothing's been paid, but they were actually paid for first quarter.
So did it show up in period 13 and go to the previous year?
Yes, it did go into period, and then when it's reversed, because that's how accounting works, it's reversed back out. Now it looks like nothing's been paid when there actually was one quarter paid.
Well, I do remember that he made one presentation that I can recall.
Yes, he has made one.
Yeah, and it was actually, council would fund, I want to say it was either 30 or 40, let me see, what was the number? 30,000 in previous years. There was a concern that Wonderful Company was going to withdraw their support, and if so, would the city consider funding additional funds? But it was very clear that if they received additional funds from Wonderful Company, then the city would not front, the extra money.
Well, I do have a question though. Even though the deadline is already, there's still money approved for the budget for RAP and all the other ones, is still set aside just in case?
You mean for this year?
For this fiscal year.
Okay.
2021.
Right. According to the budget, the money is still there, but it depends on how much money you have in your checkbook.
But what I mean, since the deadline is already past due, would they still qualify?
Remember, if you remember, are you talking about the miscellaneous request or RAP?
Both.
Okay, RAP is their own line item and they have their own agreement, so that would be a little bit different. We would bring that agreement to council to consider approving an agreement for an additional year. So that's why we made it a different or its own line item years ago. The other community organizations, it would be up to council to decide if they wanted to consider any requests. Understanding it's been a very, very different and difficult year. And I know Commission on Aging, they depend on the cities for their match to help them with their grant funding, because there has to be a certain amount of local match. And that would be totally up to council. We just set that policy because we were getting requests here and there, and it was better to have them all at once so we could present to council. That, again, that would be totally up to council how you'd like to handle it.
To proceed with that.
Right. So any questions about your budget?
I'm just on full-time employees and the overtime. Is this the funds where council gets paid from, or where does what does that pay?
The full-time employees, that is council stipend.
Okay.
The overtime, all I can figure is if our staff is doing something for council.
Okay.
That's mostly Angie's.
Oh, okay. And she doesn't, yeah, she.
And at the
Okay,
end of the
that-
year, I take a look at all the budgets and the budget numbers, and if we've allocated too much of Angie's that should have been, it gets moved, it gets reallocated.
What you'll see is that it won't be this time because we were working on budget. It will be at the next meeting. Dawn will bring back, she's going to review the budget and check the bottom line numbers on everything. And again, this all depends on what our checkbook says. You can budget all you want, but you have to have the money to support it. But we may have some budgets that, for whatever reason, have exceeded their amount, and we can't, if it's a general fund department, I may say I have 2,000 here, I have no problem to transfer it over to Angie's department, as long as it doesn't affect the bottom line number, because that's what council approved. And that's what Dawn will be doing. She'll bring that back. And if there are any departments or any funds that have exceeded, then it would take council action to approve that either. And also to transfer any funds within the 700 series. Toward the end of each budget, you'll see 700 series. Except council, you don't get a 700 series. Just kidding, I'm kidding. Is that if there are funds such that you'll see in the water collection or water distribution, Public Works would they need another piece of equipment. So they would put money in the 700 series. It's kind of like a savings account. I think we reviewed this. And that at the end of the year, as long as there's that amount, then Dawn would request that council consider transferring that over to the CIP. So that will happen at the next meeting. Yeah. That's how we have to. We can't be less than zero at the end of the year.
The other thing you will find that drove me nuts when I was learning about budgets is you'll notice that some of the budgets we went across, they hadn't spent anything, but they still wanted more for next year. Some of the departments like to hold their money till the end of the year in case there's an emergency and they have to spend it. And then right about now, they'll go out and buy all their supplies and their chemicals and stuff for next year. So when we look at it, it doesn't look like they've spent anything, but they're going to all at once. Right, Don?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's basic. If you have expenditures, it starts kind of in April, and in May, if you have expenditures, large expenditures, you need to do them because you get into the payment of the bills and it hits that July, which is in the next budget year. So it gets a little confusing, but they're all pretty good. They are pretty good.
And then last question, just on the longevity incentive, is that the one we discussed on the longevity for the city employees, or is that?
Yes, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of a policy.
So that's probably Angie too, because Angie's us.
Okay.
Or a percentage of her is us.
Well, that's for all of them, not only Angie, isn't it?
It would be for all of the, as we.
Oh, that's for all the longevity?
Whoever is up for longevity for this next year.
Right.
Would be included in this budget.
Well, that's good because I hate that much.
And that's the 2-tier where if you were hired before July 1st, 2016, you get it in one direction. Well, they're both in the same direction, but if you're hired after July 1st of 2016, you get it for the first 10 years. And then at the 10th year, it stops, and then you pick up 10% of your retiree insurance benefit as long as you retire from the city.
That was the change that we made to help kind of reverse what was going on because of benefits.
The last, on the.
No, go ahead. You're new.
Yeah.
I had my year. I was just like you. I'm several years.
Yeah, of course, dealing with other financial statements and stuff, and learning on business. Other miscellaneous sometimes is questionable on certain budgets, financial statements, etc. You might have explained it, but I'm not sure if I caught it. What is the other miscellaneous?
On councils or just generally? Kind of generally?
Like a general.
Let's say, and what I think of as furniture or equipment, you've already expended what you have. And you need another $100 or $200 to be able to expend. It's still within your budget, or just some kind of expenditure that kind of came out of the clear blue sky. It's not enough to bring to council. It would still be within the bottom line budget. You hope that the line items that you have will cover your needs, but you don't know.
Right.
And yes, there are some budgets that use miscellaneous. There's probably Public Works, mostly, that use it because there's so many unknown. You don't know when a water line is going to break, and you can budget based on what the past has shown within the budget. So I don't want to say it's a safety net, but it kind of is, but it's used wisely. It's not to go out and buy new gloves or whatever. However, if all of that line item that would pay for the gloves and the safety glasses and all, it was expended, they could go to other miscellaneous to help pay for those. And just so I know you don't know our system, and Pablo, you may remember from last year, just explaining our financial system, it's a series of steps. So just because, let's say a department, this is what I want, but this is what I need, the requisitions are input, and I'm the first one basically, other than the department head, that will see what that is. And there are questions asked. It's, chemicals, we know chemicals, and they're going to be very expensive, but you look at also, who has made the request and whatnot. And then the system will tell you that a line item is basically over. There's an error message, so we know that there's a little bit of an issue. And if I go ahead and approve, then I provide Don with a copy saying we need to make the transfers or to find the funds. And it happens during the end of the fiscal year. So once I approve, it goes back to our finance assistant for approval for the POs. But that's just the first part of it. Those are the first 3 steps. There are 2 more steps. So there are checks and balances along the way too.
And another note for other miscellaneous is sometimes it just doesn't fit anywhere else in the line items. And so, if all else fails, it goes in other miscellaneous.
Okay, so.
I do have another question. 675.5. So at the end, you said that went up to like 165. We need to change the number for 2021. Yeah, the 132,000 for the contract funding.
Oh, right, the 132 that we budget for every year. The amount and that was that year that the request was made to increase. But we have additional population. So, do you say no to the people that have opened up new water services or new homes that are built that you didn't expect that impact? Which we didn't, because council wanted to do a really, really good thing. So knowing that it's, is that $40,000 or $50,000, that's been over a good 10 years, 11 years.
You said right, yeah, but right now you said it went up from 132 to about 165.
I know, but we put 132 in there every year.
But we're still giving the money to everyone?
Yes, it's still being offset. The 20% is offset.
So
We didn't anticipate growth, is what I'm trying to say. We didn't anticipate it.
we actually need to change the number.
Yeah, that's kind of not gonna fly accounting wise.
We can certainly do it. It'll go into, it offsets the water fund because that's what it's for, the water and utilities, but it's actually the 20% across the board, so.
No, that's refuse.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's refuse, it's Mid-Valley Disposal, that's refuse only, I'm sorry. That's absolutely right. I'm thinking of all the other bills and stuff on 998. But yeah, and there's a good chance because of fuel and whatever, we could be looking at another increase over the next couple of years or another year.
Well, then we really should be putting it up because, we've done this before. We haven't, and then when we do, it's a whole lot bigger and we have a hard time justifying it. If we just bring it up as it goes up, it's easier to explain.
It is, and, I apologize, but it was 132,000.
Yeah, I
council
understand
approved.
that.
Yeah.
So what is the actual number, if you know it? Okay.
It was about 174,000. I saw it when we were reviewing it just to get an idea of what the true picture was.
So
And
that
understandably, there's growth.
is what is, let's just say, given to the community to cover the offset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it would show, this is our expense side, but you'll see it on the revenue side, so it should, wash out. Even out. We can change that,
Yeah,
because all we do is increase the revenue on general fund.
Yeah, because otherwise we won't be able to tell, what's the increase to mention it just now. But we will see it, we'll think that it was still 132, which is not an actual number.
And it's not, yeah. It was one of those going, oh my gosh, that's right, and it was 2008, I believe, is when this was done, and it went into effect in 2009. We can do this. But it'll show on the offset of the revenue as well.
Sorry.
Okay. And okay. So any more questions about council's budget? Okay. So if you go to page 21, that's the city manager's department.
Which one?
21.
21.
Page.
We're going back.
2000.
Backwards,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Actually, it was forward from where we were at.
My pages must be messed up because I got 15, then I got 22. And there's 20.
You just restacked them upside down.
I know, I have them all spread out, so I'm having to go, okay, well, I put that here and put that there.
18.
This is one of the biggest budgets,
It's the biggest.
24. You said 21?
21.
Page 21, yep. And it's Fund 3, actually 2,000.
Very
I'm not,
small.
Fund 10, Department 2,000.
You go ahead and talk. I'll find it.
It's okay, I was doing the same thing, and I may have to find the city attorney too, so I understand. Okay, this is the budget that I work from, and my time is allocated out, basically to all departments, because that's where I work. And that includes the operating authority as well. Dawn does have an allocation sheet, so, which we have to have for the auditors, so we can see how we're allocating things out. So my position is fully allocated. The only other thing we have is city manager, the memberships. There was no activity in my budget this past year. Conference and training, that's for my time up and down the road. I did apply, and this may include that I wanted to attend the city manager's conference that they hold every year. I hadn't been in several years.
But I'm glad that I canceled because right after that is when everything basically shut down. But if I go to the League of California Cities, that's going to take about half of it like it does with council. But it's just basically meetings and registration. That's all it's for. Other miscellaneous, there you go. It's $100. And furniture and equipment, I think that there is some money in CIP. My desk is falling apart.
You said that for the last 4 years.
I know. Well, I thought about going out to see what kind of inventory we have out at Public Works to see if there's a desk out there. So
Have you checked
anyway,
the C trains?
there could be something.
No, there's nothing in the C train.
Anyway, are there any questions? Just to understand that my position is totally allocated out.
No questions. Okay.
As is general services and finance both.
So
25, city attorney.
the attorney,
23, or no, 25.
25.
okay, I'm where you were going then.
What? I haven't got mine in order.
25.
From 4 to 5,000. Okay, guess I'm sharing with you. This is where we pay our city attorney, Mr. Farley. We pay a retainer and we pay hour. Understand attorneys are probably around $400 an hour now, Mr. Farley, and charges us probably around $19 an hour for his retainer. Although anything over the meetings that we have, they attend 2 meetings, whether it's Mr. Farley or someone in coverage. Someone normally attends a plan commission meeting. It's good to have a little counsel there as well. I have worked with Mr. Farley for many years, and we are so lucky that we have an office that will call staff within minutes and very prompt to return any type of response to, what we need. So, we had an exceptional year this last year. We did. We were working on easements, working on the, oh, God, the other items,
What?
Oh. I'm sorry, I have gone fully blank.
When was the West Hills deal that we were challenging West Hills?
That was
Previous year.
Yeah.
I don't think that was this year.
That was not last year.
It's right around 130,000 a year, but it's actually evened out. We did have a difficult year this last year. It'll come to me, and I'm so sorry. I should have written it down.
And there were a couple of litigations.
Potential, but not. Also, any type of agreement, such as the subdivision agreement that he reviews, any type of easement agreement he reviews, any agreement that we receive that is granted to us. Mr. Farley has said, I would rather let me review it instead of having to fix it in the event that we're sued. So that is kind of that path that we follow, just for assurance.
You took your notes out.
I did? Okay. But anyway, and that is all departments. That will be the city clerk if something comes, anything from the city council, anything from finance, anything from planning, anything from public works. Mr. Farley reviews all of the documents, and he'll offer comment and guidance. Oh, one being our water as well. And another allocation issue this year, and also SDH.
The one with the The prison sewer ponds, we did a lot on that.
Yeah, that started in October.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Under professional services, we had to, based on my former city attorney, we had a bond issue years ago, and there were really, before your time and the next time, that we spent probably a good $8,500 on special counsel to come in and advise us on phone. And we've kind of kept something in there because you never know when we need some type of specific work done on something. But Mr. Carly does just about everything in-house. Anyway, we budgeted 140,000, and it could come in a little lower. His expenses are about 12,000 each month, but that's with all the activity. If there's little activity, that will be reflected in those bills as well. Any questions about our attorney's office? And Mr. Bobby will never tell you, but he's one of the top litigators around. And he's been with us and has guided us through some pretty horrendous things. And we appreciate his guidance. And it's not just Mr. Farley, it's all of his associates. Anyway.
You're gonna do 80/50, excuse me.
Yes, that is recreation.
Avenal Theater and Event Center.
Yes, Sheila is not available. I've done public safety already. Okay, the recreation department, this includes two employees. I'm sorry.
Avenal Theater and Event Center.
Oh, wrong one.
That's what follows, unless we were jumping elsewhere.
Is Umberto, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I was going to present, but would you like to present your budget to the council?
Sure. Just what page would that be on?
Is everybody?
39.
Okay, very good. Okay. Go ahead, Umberto.
Just give me a second. I need to find the.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry if the keyboard's loud. It's one of those old clunky ones from the 80s. Okay, so for our line items, we have our full-time employees, the typical pay rate. Overtime, that's not something I handle. If HERS contribution, FICA contribution. The main things I need to take care of are the uniform maintenance. That's just the cost for my shirts and whatnot. Fortunately, those are cheap.
That's the what?
Sorry, can you hear me still?
Yeah, no, what is uniform maintenance?
Oh, uniform maintenance is just for the shirts that I wear. The Avenal branded ones.
Okay, gotcha.
Office supplies, fortunately, because I was left so stocked up from last year, I was able to cut that budget from $1,000 down to $500. Most of the cost just comes from paper and ink. So cleaning supplies as well, we were able to cut that. Actually, hold up. Yes, cleaning supplies as well. Like I said, I was still stocked up, so we were able to cut that down to about $1,000. And fortunately, Costco's gotten cheaper. The main thing that we have to worry about right now is just sanitation stuff. So those Clorox wipes, the hand sanitizer. That's the only thing that kind of jacks up the price. Everything else has just gotten cheaper, fortunately. Our concessions, realistically, I'm only spending about $300 a month on concessions, so I was able to drop that down from $4,800 to $3,600. Other supplies and maintenance, that's not something we need to worry about. Professional services, let me see right here. That's where we are approved for $18,000, and for the most part, most of that is taken up by Shaw's the Shaw's service who takes care of the AC for us. Our Swank movie licenses, 4 titles a month at $95 $95 per film. That comes out to about a little over $4,500. Even though we're not showing films right now, we are in the process of working on doing outdoor films out there at the high school parking lot. The fees for the licenses for outdoor films is a little different though, so we're just getting that finalized, and I'll be on a phone call with our sales rep tomorrow to get that all figured. Valley Elevator, and the state conveyance permit that takes in a little bit of the professional services. The fire inspection, the sprinklers, that all goes into it. Pest control and ADT. ADT taking about $3,500 or $3,600 from that. Everything else, just any unexpected issues that may come up, any sort of plumbing, the neon lights. That's another thing that we needed that I was looking into. They were looking. Yesco asked for about $1,200 for the last two services they took care of. We are one of our neon lights is broken, but it is up on the top part of the tower, so that's we're gonna be looking at a little bit of an extra charge for that. Okay. For telephone, I did ask for a little bit extra, just because we are looking to upgrade to Spectrum as far as the internet here goes, or for our telephone. Right now, AT&T charges us $75 a month for their UVerse service. We're only getting about 2 megabits up, 10 down. What that means is that it's kind of just good for general home use. But what we're doing right now, where we're doing all these, we're broadcasting our meetings. Unfortunately, it just doesn't hold up to that, and the only internet provider who would allow that for us to do that is Spectrum, and we've been borrowing from the gallery for the last couple of meetings now. So at some point we do need to have our own internet set up ready for that. Okay, conference and training. Pretty soon I'm going to be heading out, or I'm going to be looking for finishing up my CPR certifications, as well as taking care of the food management. That way I'm not just limited to serving pre-sold concessions here at during movie nights. We're able to do other things such as cooking and serving food. But I do need to be officially certified in that. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 situation, finding a proctor to allow me to take care of the exam, which is something I can't do online, has been unfortunately cut. The nearest one would be in Hanford, but he's been rather hard to get a hold of. So pretty soon I might just head down to his restaurant to be able to actually meet with him in person if he's available. I can make an appointment with him there. Gas and electricity, we're more or less, price is more or less the same. I'm trying not to use the AC more than I need to. I only really keep it on during whenever there's a meeting, or if we're holding films or whatever. I usually just keep them off. I can deal with the heat myself. Okay, other repairs and maintenance, that just falls into any other emergency funds. So like I said, any sort of plumbing or issues that arise. Audio visual repairs, for the most part, we were able to cut down a good chunk of that from last year. So
Why?
last year, sorry?
Why is that? Is it because we've already updated so much and got everything working well?
For the audio visual?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the main cost for this was setting up the microphone system that we have right there in the little corner. That was about $9,000. However, because right now we have a cobbled up solution together where you see that they have those different branded lapel mics and those wired ones that we were using for meetings before. Those are our own equipment, both Tony and I, as well as the computer that we're using to broadcast all of this. We hope that we can have a proper solution set up for the Pegasus room, because we can assume that we're going to be using the Pegasus room for council meetings for the next little while, both with the COVID-19 situation, keeping everybody spaced apart, and as well as when the social distancing guidelines ends, I'm sure that the public will more or less be likely to come back into the theater themselves, sort of like what we were doing during the whole landfill situation. The room will be filled, and we are going to need microphones to accommodate everybody instead of just passing the same one over and over. All right. Other miscellaneous, we cut that down by $100 to $200. Of course, that just hold up. Right, I'll be able to do this straight as well. That is right. Right. Sorry, I'm just looking at my little sheet right here to tell me the expenses I'm using for all of it. We are going to be adding another Google Home setup, or another Google Wi-Fi router. So it's the thing that we're using to take internet from the gallery from. We would just have a couple more in here at the theater. So instead of being limited to only my office and the meeting rooms, we would be able to have the network shared across the entire facility. That way there's no dead spots. All right. And that's it for major stuff on that. Other miscellaneous, like I said, if there's any small cleaning supplies or anything that isn't picked up, or We might be picking up another FM transmitter pretty soon for the outdoor films that would fall under other miscellaneous, because it wouldn't be something that we'd be able to use at the theater itself. Water contact and utilities are it's just the usual. We've been trying to cut down on water usage here, fortunately, just because of the whole COVID-19 situation. No one's here at the theater outside of me, outside of meetings, so we're not really flushing toilets or running water as much as we need to. Just enough to make sure that the pipelines stay relatively cleaned out, but it's nothing major, and we're able to cut costs down that way. Our advertising budget here, we're keeping it to $1,000. What this mostly covers is our Adobe cost. Unfortunately, we can't share it across emails. So Anthony, Fernando, and I have our own separate accounts for this. This accounts for, I believe, $360 a year. Let me find that. Yes, it'd be $365 a year. Our Squarespace site hosting under advertising, that would be $144 a year. That would just be for our website, which is still in development right now. We were able to find a cheaper provider than Wix, who was trying to charge us about $180 per year. There are other. This is before any promotional fees, so it could be less as far as yearly site hosting goes. We're not ready to present the site just yet, just because we're looking at more people to rent out the meeting rooms, but unfortunately that's not something we can really take care of at the moment. Everything else would just come down to Facebook ad space. I ran an experiment with the last movie night we were able to hold. I had our movie night advertisement spread in a 30-mile radius, and because of that we were able to get we had a lot more foot traffic than I've been used to as far as movie nights go. And the pricing is flexible depending on your region and how long you want to have the advertisement running. I want to keep about $6 to $8, which is what we used for the last film. That would come out to about $192 a year, and anything left over would just be towards advertising the theater as a rental facility or as an event center, so for people to rent space out for. Construction, because last year we had $9,000 allocated for it. We were able to get rid of it this time just because that's what we were using to refurbish the floors. That's going to last us, hopefully. I mean, it should. It's not going to last us, more than a couple. Sorry, presenting is always tough. It's going to last us a good another couple of years. It's not going to be. We're not going to have it trashed up the way it was last time. I've been good with keeping with making sure renters come in, making sure they're lifting the tables off. They're not lifting tables off the ground as they're moving. Just making sure that the floor itself stays maintained. That way the finish isn't chipped out. We're trying to keep any sort of heavy tapes. So duct tape we don't keep we don't keep any duct tape on the floor. Any tape that we are using is the adhesive is very weak, so that we could just preserve the floor. So we won't need another construction budget for that. So we were able to save $9,000. And machinery and equipment. This is for any heavy. We're only reserving this for the heavy stuff. Mainly, it's just the disco ball that needs to get replaced. The mechanism for that is messed up, and the reason we're looking for $1,000 is because we need to bring in a lift. From what I understand, the Public Works doesn't have has a ladder tall enough to reach up there, and getting a lift into the Pegasus room isn't easy. So after calling up a couple companies, just to get a few quotes, we were looking at around anywhere from $700 to $800 per, just for the machine equipment alone. But then we also need to be looking into the cost of the actual disco ball itself, which will make up the rest of the cost. Is there any questions?
Yes, this is Councilman Ramirez. On the line item telephone, what does this cover? I divided that amount by 12, and it's $666 a month. How many cell phones does this cover, or what does this cover? It seems to me a little bit.
So from what I can tell, off of my knowledge, I know that this covers my cell phone bill, the landline bill that we have here, and UVerse. Dawn, would you be able to answer that one?
That is exactly it.
Okay.
So it's three things that it pays?
Yes.
Wow, that's expensive.
Well, there are multiple lines that come in.
I had over at the truck stop that I managed, I had 10 lines, and I was paying no more than $500 for 10 lines. I mean, something to look at if we can decrease. $7,000 a year sounds a little steep, but.
And part of it is the VPN that we have that just got finished this last year.
Okay. And might sound like a silly question. I'm not familiar with this one. Does the theater generate any kind of revenue?
Compared to the cost that we're spending, unfortunately, no, not at the moment. That's why we're looking into advertising more of the event center side of things rather than just relying on the revenue that we make from our movie nights from concession sales.
There's the facility when it was built, it's a $6 million facility, and I think most of us that grew up here know kind of what it went through. And the whole idea with the new design was to be able to use the cinemas not only for movies, but for people to make presentations. You know, we have this large room, but it only accommodates so many people. People are just now getting comfortable coming into the theater and renting the theater, not knowing that it was. And that's the whole idea behind promoting it. We knew that we would never cover the cost because it's a service to the community. And it is a very important community building. So it was definitely cut short this year, which the rec center and the Veterans Hall, the same thing. But unless there's some kind of huge performance, which this would not accommodate, you know, generating funds is a little bit difficult. It's mostly for community events and, you know, private parties and all, but there is a cost associated with it. And it is our official council chamber, so we know that portion, that's, you know, there's no money generated for council meetings. So, yeah, but it does definitely have a place.
Would it? I do have also a question for Umberto. 692. You know, it's also you know, you have only spent $58. You mentioned about $60 this year.
All right. So, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, 692 advertisement.
Yes. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you there. It's a little muffled.
Yes, line 692.
Yes.
So you have only spent about $58 this year?
Yes. And that's just because I didn't know that how effective Facebook marketing would be. The $58 that we spent were just the cup. I ran one advertisement for the event center itself, just as a rental facility, and it did bring in a couple rentals from, I believe it was the month of September, between September and November. I had maybe 6 rentals that came out from this little short advertising period, and then I spent. Then Facebook was comfortable giving us giving us a $20 credit, so I was able to put that towards the movie night. So that's why the advertising budget, or why we didn't spend very much this year on the advertising budget. But I do plan on putting more into it.
But the reason I'm making this comment is because, you know, we do need revenues. You know, this is a beautiful building for the community, and they actually really need to take advantage of it. But at the same time, we need to get more revenue. So I believe we need to start kind of reaching out to the community more and more. Like Melissa mentioned it, you know, they're now coming more rentals, and now with the new ordinance about being able to have alcohol in here, hopefully once the COVID-19 goes away, you know, people will start using it more and more. But I do believe that we do need to do more advertising, reaching out to the community, so our revenues go up. You know, it's coming to expense to the community about $100,000. A lot of them don't know, but this is, I believe, this money will spent to the community if they take advantage of it and use it more. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Is it still a little fuzzy there? So sorry.
You know, basically what he tried to say is that we should, you know, of course, I don't know what the way to go about this is, but, you know, since we're already paying for an expense on a monthly basis of nearly $10,000 based on the numbers, is there a way that we can put this, you know, to generate some revenue, offset the cost?
The idea with using the $1,000 for that year is I feel like the offset would be any the fees for any rentals that do go in to our facility, because I operate on a flex time. Overtime isn't really taken into account for my personal expense for my pay. So any expenses that do go into the rental just go straight into the general fund. So at minimum, people are paying anywhere from $200 to $300 per rental. So with 5 rentals in using this, I believe it could cover the costs.
Is there any information on, the previous tenant of there was somebody renting this facility before the city purchased it, right?
Scott.
Oh, there's a man.
We're looking at Scott or Louisa.
Yes, Louisa was, basically she was the first leader, coordinator, and then coordinator.
I don't-
Before that, it was managed by contract.
Okay.
Before that, prior to the fire, it was managed, but the city was basically oversight because we own the facility.
Right. Okay. I would, personally, I would encourage the city to try to generate some revenue because it is already an expense. The expense is there. There's no rent to pay. There's no mortgage to pay. However, the cost of electricity, cell phones, all of those things are there. I think, from my point of view, everything is already in place. The only thing would be to try to generate some revenue, even if it's just a little bit. It would help to offset the $115,000 a year. That's money that can go towards,
And that was the whole idea behind it, but we thought of very quickly. And I know that, and this is not excuse for what we found out or kind of what's going on. Even if we didn't occupy the building, we still don't have the utilities to pay. But to try to promote the theater, but people have been very reluctant about coming here. But the builders will go on advertising, having some webpage to promote it to talk about. We have done outreach to some community organizations, to citizens, for them to consider, we would give them a good rate, if we could just get some in. And if I may, the reason I was texting is to ask the chief if he could send an officer down there. Okay. So I apologize, but it's for a good reason.
I think we seriously need to sit down with the Ridge Sunset kind of a school district because they can use it more, and we can actually come into agreement with them so we can use it more, and would be another benefit to the community, but at the same time we can create more revenue too. I mean, if they can use it at least once a week, different grades, or if we have elementary, middle school, high school, they can all take really advantage of it. We're supporting them with the swim program. I think they also show kind of.
No, we agree.
Yeah,
And
so I think
I know Louisa did, and I know that America is as well as reaching out. But I'll be very honest with you, even our community, they are reluctant about committing to pay anything. And I also want to let you know that we're looking at increasing, or maybe, our monthly member rate, just moving up tonight, but our community was not pleased that we were looking at that. And we have to be careful too because of licensing, so there are some restrictions. So to try to generate, that's what our goal is just getting, the word out and getting people interested that understand that we use some facilities for nothing for years, and I think there's kind of this, you provided and you provided, but they're having schools, schools have had activities here. The dance classes have been here, the dance class was actually a really good thing for the theater, and getting people down to the theater. That they, youth had increased, Louise was here, and America was learning, he's still learning, he's a very technical person and making work, so I'm still very encouraged with what's going on, and COVID has stopped us all on our tracks, and we're hoping that we can, step out and that was the whole goal in doing that, to rebuild it and become a place for the community. But our community has to understand that we can't give everything away for free. Because there are, bills and the air conditioners and people like John, and we would have to do certain things even if we didn't keep the facility open. Just to save its own building integrity of the building.
Yeah. The way I see it though, like we are using it right now, and we're already paying the electricity, the AC, the everything, adding another employee or two versus getting some revenue from, a few movies a week or something like that. It's just a recommendation. I think
We can't charge for the movies.
What was that?
We can't charge for movies.
Why is that?
Because of our license. Once we start charging, then the film companies, even though we wouldn't do a second party, so to speak, once they realize that we're actually charging, then they're going to charge us. We pay a certain amount for each film.
Like a commission.
So we did have an agreement years ago
It was very fun.
with the big film companies, and they take the largest percentages that you can make. And Mr. Rogers is not allowed to do that. That's why we should go first run and then second run. But we can do the older movies, and we can purchase the rights to show them for, I believe it's around $250. Is that correct, Humberto?
I'm sorry, it's gotten really fuzzy. The only person I can hear right now is Councilman Ramirez.
Oh, that's, and I'm probably not much of the mic, but there is a cost for us against the film.
Right.
And again, if you start charging them, the movie companies will want to do that.
And then if we
make money on concessions.
In concessions, yeah, that makes sense.
No, you'll see that in the general fund, you'll see the revenue.
And then the issue is, if we were to lease it, we would lose our council. We would lose this portion pretty much, right?
Right, well, if they wanted to rent it, it'd be one thing, if they wanted to lease it based on, then we would probably, that would certainly come to council.
Yeah.
More wanted to do that more long term. But right now, this is our official council, so even though the used can be used, we still, council basically has first dibs on that.
Of course.
So,
Really, when we used to have movies here, the studios just ran us down. They kept changing the rules, and they said we had to sell so many tickets, and we don't have that volume. And they tried initiating the Hero, was that it, where we pre-sold? And people were donating money, and then they were giving them out to the students of the month and everything. And we said, see, we sold this many. And they said, yes, but they didn't come. They actually put cameras in there. They wanted them in the seats. And if they weren't in the seats, then it didn't count. And they just kept adding and adding and adding and adding to the issues.
And then Scott was paying like $7,000 for a first run movie for only 10, 15 people to come in.
Yeah.
See, so he just basically went broke. Then the city had to subsidize. So.
He did have a membership program, but there were only about 80 subscribers in Avenal, compared like over 300 in Colinda. That's how he was able to stay open over there with new releases, but not over here.
Yeah.
So that was guaranteed revenue coming in. For a first run movie, we can split 10, 12, 15,000 up front, and depending on how large the year was, they would guarantee a certain amount, and that didn't do long work.
Okay.
So we get a whole lesson on.
Yeah.
But one more comment. I do believe that the community needs to be aware. Yeah, the community needs to know that they're always asking for where the money is going, because we can see $150,000 come to this table, and that's community money. But at the same time, if they participate more, come and spend time and buy some, that will increase sustainability and help the city, and help the community to use it more, and maybe less money will come from the general fund, and more money can go to other services. We'll have a balance. That's why it's very important for them to come and participate, come in, enjoy building the place, and be part of it. That way it's not a burden to the general fund. And so, because no matter what I mentioned, we need to maintain it you know, all the bills need to be paid anyway.
It is a beautiful building. I think we should we should try to do something, you know, to show it to the community. It's very nice.
Had some nice weddings and.
Right. Some kind of event. Some kind of event.
So, any other questions? No? Okay. So we move on to Fund 14,000. Sure.
I just wanted to let you know that we did have one original from the Department of Recreation, but Anna, I believe, is on vacation and she was not available for our next workshop. One of them should be available to provide information on the budget.
Okay. So we could go to 14,000.
Where?
Are you available?
Yes.
Been waiting patiently for water treatment.
It starts on 70. Yeah, 70.
And these are known as proprietary funds or the enterprise fund. It's basically, they use it to explain to the business, so what, the cost to run it, and then very little over, but it all goes back into the business. So that's kind of how that, this fund and then the Blue Street fund.
Okay.
Does anyone need a break, Jim? And we're getting very close to 8 o'clock. So we just, if you would bear with us, at least to get through the water fund. You can certainly, it's up to you. I just want to bring your attention that we have decided from 5 to 8. I'm here for the duration.
So it should go straight to them, so we can finish it. Mhm.
Now, can you hear us?
It's a little easier now.
No, I can't touch it.
So Ronald, you're on.
Okay, here we go. So I'm starting with 601. Of course, payroll, PERS, FICA, all that is accounted for by Don. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So 601 office supplies and computer supplies. I increased office supplies a little bit. More for the reason of just, paper, ink, stuff like that for our printers and computers out here. See, cleaning supplies just went up a little bit to cover, as everyone has been saying, for COVID. Monica has been keeping everything sanitary out here, buying more supplies to keep things clean, and lubricants I left the same. We've had enough from last year, so I didn't have to purchase any this year, but more than likely this year we will have to purchase some. Chemicals, we're right where we were last year, so I just left it the same. We're probably barely going to make it, but we will make it, so I think next year will be the same. Shop materials, the same. Other operating supplies, I left the same. Lab supplies, I decreased by 3,000. We didn't use very much this year because the first year we used quite a bit, so we had enough to start the budget year with plenty of supplies from the prior year's operating budget. Equipment, parts, and supplies, I decreased it by 5,000. And our big budgeted accounts are hard to predict because we have such expensive equipment. when certain pieces of equipment go down, you don't know going into it what's actually going to need to be repaired or replaced. So, we kind of keep it in a range where we've been within the last few years. Sludge removal, we didn't have any removed last year, but right now we have one available pond. So this coming year we are going to have to remove sludge at the water plant. Building repairs, I just left it the same. That's another one of those things. We do have a leak right now in the gutter system that's going to need to be repaired. It'll be something we do ourselves, so more than likely it'll just be materials. Shouldn't be that costly, but the money's there for other unexpected repairs needed at the buildings. Landscape materials, just sometimes we need to buy, things for, we do have weed issues and stuff like that. So we'll buy equipment for the weeds and stuff like that for the landscaping, shovels or a hoe or rakes and stuff like that occasionally. Weed eater or something that's needed. Let's see. Tool budget, we usually keep it around $2,000 just in case a certain tool is needed for a job. We don't always need certain tools, but we do have equipment that only goes down every now and then. So we get an occasional tool that needs to be bought for stuff like that to repair certain equipment. Other maintenance supplies left it the same. Auditing is something that Don pulls for, I guess, our audits. Engineering services is for Brian when we sometime, well, like right now we're looking at, well, actually that would be wastewater. It's just a contingency when we have issues with the water, any type of water issue, we call Brian. So there's funds available in case we need it. But like I said, some of this stuff is, you don't plan out. It's something that is there, I guess, for like water line replacement when we do stuff like that. I know Fernando's been covering a lot of it, but it's there just in case he needs funds or we need funds for him to engineer. Right now, we're still looking at the zero PEX unit. Brian's still got to get together with me on that. So that's I know an upcoming project that eventually we're trying to get to. So that will cover that cost. Computer lease, everything out there is electric, not everything. A lot of stuff we have out there is electronic. So our SCADA computers out there, I've already talked with Antonio and we're looking at replacing the hard drive and the main SCADA computer at the water plant. I haven't got a cost estimate from him yet, but the funds are there for that replacement. Professional services, I left the same. That's for all the mainly electrical. When we call Telstar to do any SCADA programming, our VFD malfunctions or issues with any of our VFDs. We have any issues with a pump on top of the basic professional services as far as, pest control and those types of things is all pulled from that account. It was a bit high this year because of the zero PEX with inline energy. It was pulled out of that account. So next year we won't have that expenditure. So it shouldn't be over the budgeted amount this coming year. Emergency generator services is for the backup generator power. We don't contract, but we went out for biannual services or semi-annual. They'll come out twice a year and do the maintenance on the equipment to make sure that it's turns on when it's needed. Phone services, I left the same. Billing and postage, I left the same. It's one of those funds that looks like it hasn't been spent, but is in the process of being spent right now as we speak. So it will be used up for the CCR to be sent out to all the customers. Conference and training is for our continuing education units. We didn't use it all this year because of the COVID, so we missed a training course that was scheduled for April. But next year, hopefully, we can attend both of the two classes that we normally attend to keep our continuing education going. General notices is another one that I use for the CCR, which will be spent. It's in the process of being sent out. It's being printed, and it's at the print shop now, and they're working on it. Gas and electricity is the same. Machinery repair and maintenance, I actually dropped it a little bit. Like I said, it's one of those accounts that we normally just stick within a range, and last year we were above what I'm budget. I mean, yeah, 2018-19 we used more than what I'm budgeting this year, but this year we used less. So it's kind of one of those things that, depending on how things go, we might need it. Pump rebuild, I try to schedule for 2 pumps, not knowing how many will need to be rebuilt every year, but normally we do about 2 pumps a year, and they usually cost anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000 for a rebuild. I have one in the shop now that hopefully is done by the end of the year, which will be pulled out of this account, and it should be around the $15,000 range. So that's the reason for that budgeted amount. Other repair and maintenance we use for any equipment that we need to purchase. I mean, there's a lot of unusual stuff at the water plant that's not specifically line itemed in these, so we use it out of the other repair and maintenance. Filter rebuild is used to purchase anthracite to add to the filter for the filter media. We use it for specific things. This year's budget is not showing, but it's all been spent and then some. So I just left it the same for next year because we are going to do probably another complete rebuild of a filter next year. Rental leases and equipment, left it the same. Machinery equipment rental, left the same. Books and subscriptions, memberships. The one big item that we did increase was our water contract with the utilities. And I got notice from Don that our cost for water out of the aqueducts just about doubled. So by what we used was going to cost, by the amount we were allotted, would cost us about $90,000 extra this year for water to purchase. So I increased the budget $90,000 on that line item. And then I believe the other one was our regulatory, which is just the state, what they charge us to monitor what we do. That's the regulator cost. Testing services I dropped. I had increased it last year because we had a new testing for UCMR4 that had came out. And we also had switched laboratories, but it's been much cheaper. We had a negotiated rate and where they dropped all of our routine samples that we grab weekly. So we've saved lots of money. So I dropped that $20,000 from last year's budgeted amount. And that's about all of ours that I control.
Just, hopefully this is on, just to give you an idea, when we say the cost of water, water is just a small component of the cost of water. We're paying for maintenance and operations. We're paying Trinity. We are paying the Delta, the impacts to the Delta, because our water goes to the Delta. We pay for pumping. We pay for capital costs. So it's not, actually the cost of water is minimal compared to all the other costs. So I believe it was for San Luis maintenance and operations. They doubled the amount. We had no idea. She received the information and it really took us by surprise.
So that is the increase. And one other area, if it's okay, Ronald, I'd like to explain, and I think it's probably pretty apparent, but our gas and electricity, with all the motors and all the equipment that it takes to treat water, our water has to be shipped up over about 1,100 feet. And then, yes, it's gravity fed, but it takes a lot to get it there because it's 8 miles of transmission line for both lines. So it's just a cost of doing business. And we have to do a little climbing in the meantime. Thanks, Ronald. Any questions for
Any
him?
questions for Ronald? Okay.
Just one thing to note, if you look at the second page, where it looks like we have a 0 bond principal cost, it's just a formatting issue. Those lines below it should actually be moved up 1 line. And I'll get that corrected. It's already on my list of things to do.
Because the water plant is part of our bond commitment, that's why it would be difficult for us to seek a loan on our water to pick up any kind of capital improvements through loans and all. So that was a decision made many years ago. And water fund pays a portion of that, capital and interest.
It is about 8 o'clock.
Do we want to get through water distribution and then we can call it a night?
We still got to do wastewater too.
It's up to council if you'd like to.
Sewer, wastewater.
It's on page 78, 79.
77.
Ronald's is 15-1. It's the long one.
But we need to get through, we have water treatment, then we need water distribution. And that would be.
That's what I mean, wastewater.
Okay.
15,100, which is 78.
Right, but Rob is water distribution, which is the other part of the water fund, it's 14. Yes. Rob? Are you on the line? You still on the line?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hey, Rob.
Why did we jump down there? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Rob, we're actually down to water distribution, Fund 14.
Okay.
72.
I'm trying to find it here.
Where am I, Rob?
You're going to keep Ron hanging around?
Everybody's coming in, all static key.
72.
Scott still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to go ahead and take water? My phone's getting all staticky. I can't even understand what nobody's saying.
All right, no problem, Rob. So we're starting at uniform maintenance 517 under 14,000 or 14,100. We did drop the uniforms by $500.
Scott, what fund are you reviewing?
He's in 14.
We're in 14,100.
14,100.
517.
That's where I'm at, because he said uniforms.
Well, that's line 517.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
But the amount
Well, my line says 517.
Right,
501 to 516 will be the employee cost that Dawn provides.
Yeah, that's all Don's providing all the down to 516. Thank you, Melissa. So we did drop the uniforms by $500 just because we're coming in a little bit lower this year. Our equipment parts, we did drop by $10,000. That still is a contingency when we have a water leak. Any of the pipe that we buy, you know, our welding supplies or things like that still have to come out of that. So I got a wooden table I'm knocking on because we haven't had a ton of water leaks yet this year. But we did drop that by $10,000. The street maintenance materials, we left blank because we can get rid of that. We can actually use our street funding. And we put that in water distribution because when we dig up the street to fix a water line, then we actually would have money in there for materials to patch the street back. So we've gotten rid of that. Our tools, we did drop by $1,000. We always find when we're on these water leaks, we actually wear grinders out. We wear all the brushes and everything that we use with that. So we've kept that. We're constantly needing tools. I know we haven't spent any this year, but we're going to keep that $2,500 in there. The other maintenance supplies, we've dropped down by $2,000. Auditing, obviously that's with Dawn. Our engineering services, we've kept the same because of being able to use Brian for anything that we need on that. Our professional services is when we have a water leak and we have to call in. We use Mike Wilson quite a bit. He also has subcontractors that works through his licensing, and like the leak that we had below tank 3 on this side of the hill, we used him quite a bit with that one, and another operator that he brought in through his business license. Telephones we don't worry about with water distribution. Our training, that has stayed the same because, as Ronald was saying, we need to keep our certificates. We all have distribution certificates. Gas and electricity has gone down a little bit, but we still are maintaining all of that. Machinery repair, we're maintaining the same. That's with like the backhoe. There's some stuff that we can, even though 18,000 covers a lot of the equipment maintenance, if we have any extra that happens on a job with our backhoe or our loader, we can take care of that. We pay our distribution certificates out of memberships. The other miscellaneous is things that we can use for if we don't have enough in memberships. We can draw from that and transfer it back up if we need to. And then machinery and equipment is if we need to buy new equipment. So, and then the operational transfers and equipment transfers are, I think that's a Dawn thing. So, are there any questions on this? Did everybody hear?
Yeah.
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Thank you,
Oh,
Scott.
okay. Okay.
Probably for you, Melissa. So, just on the bottom line, I know that doesn't add up to.
Oh, my God.
On this, the very last line is where it says total expenditures, water distribution fund. I know that it doesn't add up to 3.2 million this way. Can you just explain that one, just from my understanding?
That's the sum of 100 and 14,000.
Okay.
It's the treatment and then the distribution.
Okay. Makes sense.
It's not cheap to make water or ship it over the hill, that's for sure.
Yeah, so public works portion of that is the 810,000, and the other portion of that is Ronald's portion in treating the water. He's got all the big electric bills and all the chemical bills and all that kind of stuff. So
And you'll see that in sewer also. There's a split.
Continue and finish wastewater and sewer. We'll have, it'll be collection and treatment. And that would be, the only thing left will be seed, but we can certainly continue this next time. You want to go ahead with wastewater since we haven't both on the line?
Is that 5,100?
It's 15,000 and 15.
It shouldn't take too much longer to get through this.
Pardon me?
It shouldn't take too much longer. 15,100.
Are we in agreement? We'll finish at least water or wastewater? Okay, Scott or Rob? I guess Rob's phone's not doing well. Scott, would you like to review wastewater collection?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
wastewater collection, yes, 15,000. Back down to the uniforms. We kept that the same. It's allocated by the employees. I'm sorry.
We were just getting a page number. Scott, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm kind of like Rob. I had the just the layout of all of our departments. I didn't have the full page thing.
Go ahead, Scott. We're ready.
Okay, so our uniforms is maintained the same. Employees are they take that money out differently from water distribution to wastewater, or it's just the way they kind of break it up to make sure all the uniform stuff is paid for. We were able to drop it in water distribution, but we had to maintain it in wastewater collection. We were able to drop our other operating supplies by $2,000. There again, we don't know when we're going to need to have extra sewer pipe if we have a fractured area where it collapses or something. But we do quite a bit of sewer maintenance, manholes that need repaired, things like that. Our equipment parts, the jet rodders, and mainly the jet rodders. That's where that money, and I know it doesn't show that we've spent a lot, but we have worked on our jet rodder and our vac trailer quite a bit in the last couple of months. So that line item is probably going to look different as to what we've used this year. The building repair, we did drop by 500. Our street maintenance materials, we dropped by, what's that, 1,300. We do still keep some street maintenance materials in our wastewater collection, because generally if we have to dig up for the sewer, it is a bigger hole. And so we did keep some of the street maintenance in there. The tools we've kept the same, and a lot of that with tools is included in buying different or new tips for our jet rodder and things like that to be able to do our sewer cleaning. The other maintenance supplies we've dropped by 1,500. We keep that in. I mean, that's one of those, like Melissa explained earlier, if something else in the line item didn't quite fit in with what we need to buy, the other maintenance supplies covers that. The auditing done. Engineering services, we still maintain that with Brian. We haven't had to use him a lot this year on our sewer collection system, but we did have the survey on all of our sewer lines about 2 years ago, and we do have a lot of maintenance and repair that we're going to have to do on these, and so we're going to be needing Brian on that. Our professional services, we hadn't used it a lot, so we did drop it by 5,000. The machinery repair and maintenance, we're just maintaining the same price. Other repair and maintenance, we are continuing to keep $1,000. We really don't rent or lease anything for wastewater collection. Construction, we dropped down to 15,000. There again, we don't know when we're going to have to go in and have a line repaired. We do have a lot of lines in the city. Out of all the miles of wastewater collection sewer lines that we have here, it was quite a surprise on the survey that we did with our system as to how many things that actually really need some attention and repair. So this year that may be more than enough, and next year it may be not half as much as what we kind of need. So that's just we'd like to have that in there for that. And then our equipment and operational transfers, there again, that's a lot with Dawn. And are there any questions on our wastewater collection?
Questions? No. None so far, Scott.
Okay, thank you all very much.
We go on to 15-100. Everybody ready? Get started.
Yes, Ronald.
Okay, so we'll start at 601, which is just office supplies. I increased it $150 because we were close to, actually we probably did go over because we just placed an order for a few items. So just going off of last year's, I increased it a little bit, which probably some of it could come out of computer supplies of what I just ordered this year. I mean, this last order, I'm sorry. Cleaning supplies, we left it the same. Lubricants, I left it the same kind of deal with that as the water plant. We had leftovers from last year that we used all this year. We didn't have to purchase anything. Under chemicals, we started using a new chemical to help with the biological process for the bugs that are in the system. We found a new chemical that helps us dissolve the fats and greases, takes away the foaming problem we'd had on our clarifiers. So I increased the budget there from 2,000 to 6,000 to purchase those chemicals. Shop materials, left it the same. I decreased equipment parts. Last year we purchased, which it's not showing here yet, a couple of flow meters that are still waiting for them to come in, so they haven't been charged yet. But that was the reason for the amount being so high last year, so I decreased it back to 10,000 this year. Sludge removal, I decreased because we did have a lot removed this year. Next year we will still need to have about the same amount removed. Building repairs, I left the same. Site maintenance, Scott or Rob usually pulls this money to purchase the Roundup and the weed killer for the areas out here because we have a lot of open area. And so they purchase the chemical supplies to maintain the grounds out here for weed control. Let's see what else. Tools, left it the same there. Other maintenance supplies, I decreased a couple of $1,000s. Auditing services stayed the same. The engineering services, I left the same, knowing that we're going to have to work with Brian this year on the potential of putting a holding pond on the wastewater grounds. So there's money available for me meeting with Brian for that. Computer lease and enhancement, kind of the same thing. Our SCADA computer out here. I talked with Antonio about replacing the upgrading the hard drive and getting more memory on the computer. The one we have out here is old. I at one point wanted to replace it, but Antonio thinks just upgrading the hard drive and putting in memory would be sufficient. Professional services is mostly a Telstar thing where we have them come out. They do our flow meter calibrations, any issues with SCADA, any issues with our VFDs or electrical that we're not able to fix, they take care of for us. Same out here, we have a backup generator. So we budget money for semi-annual maintenance. Phone services, I increased to cover the amount. Let's see, billing and postage, I left it at 100. I'm not sure why it wasn't over this year. I have to look into that. Conference and training, I left it the same. Being as with water plant, we didn't get to attend all the functions this year, so hopefully next year we'll get back on that. Gas and electricity actually went down.
Ronald?
Yes.
Ronald, that's Dawn and I. We decreased it by 26%, and the reason why is that the solar plant or the solar system should be operational, they say by December, but we're probably looking at February. But we're counting on there being a cost savings for that. So just want that, Dawn and I did it, sorry. But we are counting on that, and the project is actually ready to go. We need those things. We need those solar panels. Otherwise, then we'll figure the other out. Sorry, Ronald.
Yeah, batteries in a submarine.
Ronald, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Other than that one, there was no other big changes. I think everything else was pretty much the same. Questions? Can you guys still hear me?
We thought maybe you passed out or something.
No, I'm here. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. But besides those, I didn't make any other major changes. They all stayed about the same. Do we have any questions on anything?
Questions? Right now? No questions, Ronald.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ronald.
We're good.
A lot to take in, isn't it? Actually, one of the, actually a pretty simple document to follow, the way that it's gone through a lot of transitions between the end of the year. But actually, it's much more readable and understandable. But if you have questions, write them down and we can certainly answer them next time.
We need another vote.
Are you everybody?
You closed up too soon.
I just want, we need to set up another date or to finish this.
Let's do it again. Actually, I enjoyed it.
No, the next one's shorter.
Much shorter.
Probably. All that's really left is your, like, refuse recycling, those are simple, street lighting, very simple. And it would be grants, debt service, project funding, streets. and
RDA and the,
But those are very simple, they're basically.
Yeah.
Sure, our bonds, and, we're obligated to pay.
So we can allocate 2 hours?
I think 2 hours would do it if we,
Okay.
we've done really well to get through what we've done.
All right, so need to pick a date.
Well, Friday.
Pick a day, any day. guess Kevin's done with them.
Oh, Monday, or no? Just throwing that out there, just as a day.
Is it birthday Monday?
It is because I have a.
We could have a party.
So there you go.
And it's all day your birthday.
There's leches.
On the 15th? Yeah. That's my cousin's birthday.
But is there a good day next week? Monday? Monday good?
15?
Or at 5 to 7?
5 to 7.
So that's Monday, 15th?
5 to 7, we should be able to get through. We cover a lot of territory. Oh, well, we still have to get the revenues, but the money we have is what we have.
That's throwing a dart at the wall.
So. And we'll go ahead and get it posted. I'm sorry, I'm chasing after that.
Why do we have that door open? Why are we got the door open and we're running the air conditioning?
Is Rusty still there?
Internet.
Yeah, my laptop.
Oh, yeah, because he's running it to the gallery. I guess that's a good reason.
Is Rusty still on?
No. Go have Rob, Bertha, and Scott.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. The Rob, Scott, and Umberto, our next meeting, our workshop will be on Monday, the 15th from 5 to 7, and we'll be reviewing recycling, refuse, streets, and then we'll get into our debt service and projects, grants, and we'll also be going over revenues.
Okay.
Are we good?
All right.
Yep.
It's been fun, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not as much fun as if you've been here.
You guys can sit and do all sorts of things. We can't.
What's for dinner?
You missed
I ain't had
sandwiches.
this much, haven't had this much fun since the old hog ate my little brother.
At least it wasn't a big hog.
No, just an old hog.
What? This is. This is one of these months where we started on a Thursday, and so the second one's going to be good. Or is this the first one? This is the first one in June. Okay. Okay.
I'm still on. You're making me very jealous of those sandwiches.
Okay.